Chapter 429. Long Yu used the ancient Dragonbone Pagoda to destroy the Otherworld passageway. Immediately, the ever-growing aura of the exotic beast dissipated like smoke. Long Yu and Ling Hu Qianyan breathed a sigh of relief. Let's hurry to the east and north courtyards of the Mandate Realm. Since a second exotic beast from the Mystery Land is being sent here, it's likely that the same thing is happening in the east and north courtyards. Ling Hu Qianyan glanced at Long Yu. Do you think it's better to go to the east courtyard or the north courtyard first? The north courtyard. Long Yu made a decision in an instant. Oh, Ling Hu Qianyan was a little surprised. I thought you would choose to go to the east courtyard first. After all, the north courtyard lord, Bei Tianyi, seems to be doing something unfriendly to you. It's more than unfriendly. If I hadn't run fast enough, I'm afraid I would have lost my life in the north courtyard of the Mandate Realm. Long Yu chuckled and said, I want to go to the north courtyard first. It's not for any other reason. It's just that the north courtyard is closer. I can save some time there. That's true. Ling Hu Qianyan also chuckled. Now that the entire northern college has been destroyed by that withered branch exotic beast, even if we slaughter that exotic beast in the divine secret realm, Northern Tianyi will have to spend a lot of effort to rebuild it. It's going to be tough. Your anger should be gone by now. You're indeed a young hero. You know how to look at the big picture. Haha. Wang Chongfeng's voice came from the side, and he spared no effort in praising Long Yu. Long Yu waved his hand. Let's go. We can't afford to be late. This time, we have more than a dozen warriors in the Tribulation Realm. As long as it's not a tricky exotic beast from the Mystery Land, we should be able to kill it easily. I'm just afraid that the North Courtyard already has 2 exotic beasts from the Mystery Land. There's no time to lose. Let's go together. Ling Hu Qianyan nodded and made a decision. As for the exotic beasts from the Heavenly Being Secret Land, let the others deal with them. Our target is the exotic beast from the Mystery Land. Speaking of which, after dealing with so many beasts in the secret realms, why haven't I learned anything about the innate techniques? How infuriating. Wang Chongfeng shook his head and said dejectedly, if it was that easy, why would we be stuck at this bottleneck for so long? Ling Hu Qianyan waved his hand and said, innate skills are the ways to control the divine runes. We haven't even fully understood the power of the divine runes, so how can we learn innate skills? After that, Ling Hu Qianyan flew straight toward the Northern Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm, taking Long Yu with him. Wang Chongfeng followed without any hesitation. Right now, this ragged old man was in a very good mood, because his 3 traitorous disciples had all died in this turmoil, and their corpses could not be found. Although 2 of them died in the hands of exotic beasts in the Divine Secret Realm, and Wang Chongfeng didn't get to kill them himself, it was enough to make him smile. As for the crisis of the Heavenly Mandate Academy, the old man didn't care at all. Anyway, he was now more and more appreciative of Long Yu, and he really wanted to take Long Yu as his disciple. From Long Yu's performance at the critical moment, Wang Chongfeng knew that this kid was not like his 3 traitorous disciples. Once he became Wang Chongfeng's disciple, he would never mistreat the old man. When this thing is over, this kid will definitely have countless enemies. When I ask to take him as my disciple, this brat will probably agree, right? Wang Chongfeng thought happily in his heart. There were also the Northern Academy and Eastern Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm. There were only 2 beasts from the secret land of divinity. With the help of Long Yu and the Dragonbone Tower, they should be able to eliminate all the beasts soon. More than a dozen warriors in the Heavenly Tribulation Realm from the 6 forces of the Heavenly Dipper Realm quickly followed Ling Hu Qianyan and came to the place where the Northern Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm used to be. In addition to the people in the Heavenly Tribulation Realm, only Long Yu was there. As for He Qin Shue and Yu Wenliang, who had been protecting Long Yu, they had also stayed in the Western Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm to deal with the aftermath. Although the golden 8-clawed flying bat beast in the Divine Secret Realm was killed, there were still many beasts in the Heavenly Realm left in the Western Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm. He Qin Shue and Yu Wenliang stayed in the Western Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm to deal with the remaining 8-clawed flying bat beasts. They were also responsible for getting rid of all the bodies of the disciples of the Western Academy. Northern Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm. Long Yu raised his head and looked toward the Northern Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm. All he saw was a thick yellow fog. The originally flying five-colored light of the Heavenly Mandate Realm had been replaced by this yellow fog. And in this thick fog, there was a strong aura of the withered branch exotic beasts. It was conceivable that the nearby area had been completely occupied by the withered branch exotic beasts. Let's go. Ling Hu, Qianyan, waved his hand at everyone. Then, he flew alone at the very front and charged into the thick yellow fog. The crowd surrounded Long Yu and followed Ling Hu, Qianyan into the yellow fog. In the crowd, no one noticed that Deputy Palace Master Xiao of the 9 Heaven Star Palace had a vicious look in his eyes. This Deputy Palace Master Xiao was the grandfather of Elder Xiao Zizhi. Xiao Ziji's Dantian had been destroyed by Wang Changfeng, and the 100 Refinements 5 Elements Elixir had been taken away by him. The white-haired Deputy Palace Master Xiao naturally knew for whom Wang Changfeng had taken away the 100 Refinements 5 Elements Elixir. For the sake of the entire Heavenly Mandate continent, Xiao Ziji temporarily joined forces with Long Yu and the others to kill the golden 8-clawed flying bat beast. But now, Deputy Palace Master Xiao felt that the crisis had passed. All the exotic beasts that had invaded the Heavenly Mandate continent would be eliminated. So, the killing intent in his body was stirring again. No one noticed the killing intent in the eyes of Deputy Palace Master Xiao. However, how sensitive was Long Yu to killing intent? Do you want to take advantage of the chaos? How troublesome. Long Yu's expression did not change, but he was extremely vigilant in his heart. This old man could do anything to avenge his grandson, Xiao Ziji. The most likely time to take action was when they were dealing with the exotic beasts from the secret realm. Long Yu began to think about countermeasures. The withered exotic beasts began to appear around them. They moved freely in the yellow fog as if they were swimming in the water. They became extremely agile, which made Long Yu's heart sink. If even the speed of the withered exotic beasts had become faster, the battle at the Northern Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm would not be as simple as he had imagined. Moreover, judging from the time, there should have been 2 withered exotic beasts in the secret realm in the Northern Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm. If that was the case, it would be extremely troublesome. If it weren't for the intrigue between the human martial arts cultivators, these exotic beasts would have been killed long ago. But now we are in trouble. Long Yu's eyes flashed. He wanted to kill the Deputy Palace Lord of the 9 Heaven Star Palace first, just like how he dealt with the flying crow Du Sun and the soul-chasing evil ghost Ning Yixing. But he was very clear that once he proposed this, he would definitely be opposed by the Palace Lord of the 9 Heaven Star Palace, Ling Zhiping. In that case, conflicts would arise among the people, which would not be good for the current situation. Long Yu had no choice but to secretly make preparations to protect himself. More and more withered exotic beasts appeared around them, and quite a number of heavenly tribulation withered exotic beasts also appeared. Naturally, they were all killed by everyone. Even the thick, dusky yellow fog in the vicinity was dispersed quite a bit. Without the yellow fog, the speed and agility of the withered exotic beasts were greatly reduced. Everyone roughly knew this characteristic of the withered exotic beasts. It seemed that the key to victory at the Northern Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm was to disperse the thick fog. Everyone intentionally or unintentionally used all kinds of power to try to disperse the thick fog. Soon, they learned what kind of power could disperse the thick fog more easily. Everyone present was in the Heavenly Tribulation Realm and originally stood at the peak of the entire Heavenly Mandate continent. Of course, they were not fools. Without any communication, everyone had already found the fastest way to disperse the thick yellow fog. This included Long Yu. He tried all kinds of power that he had comprehended and soon found that the chi of the underworld was almost overwhelming against the yellow fog. Wherever the chi of the underworld appeared, the yellow fog would retreat. This discovery made Long Yu feel much more assured. As long as the ancient Dragon Bone Tower was released, it would definitely be able to completely disperse the yellow fog around them. Everyone kept moving forward, and they were about 1,000 feet away from the Northern Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm. At this moment, Long Yu suddenly became alert. Everyone, enter the ancient tower. Long Yu activated the dragon scale of the underworld as quickly as possible and then released the ancient dragon bone tower. He was the first to rush in. He felt an extremely fast aura of exotic beasts approaching from afar. Everyone was shocked and hurriedly rushed into the ancient dragon bone tower. They had just steadied themselves when the entire ancient dragon bone tower shook. They actually attacked. Everyone's expressions turned ugly. They had wanted to go to the Northern Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm to capture that exotic beast, but they did not expect the other party to take the initiative to attack. They were still thousands of feet away from the Northern Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm, but the other party had already launched a surprise attack. Fortunately, Long Yu reacted quickly. Otherwise, just this sneak attack alone would probably have killed one or two of them. When the ancient dragon bone tower was quickly released, all the attacks from outside landed on the body of the ancient dragon bone tower, causing it to shake violently. However, as the chi of the underworld within the ancient dragon bone tower spread, the thick yellow fog around them was immediately dispersed. The withered exotic beast did not seem to like to move around outside the yellow fog. This was something that everyone had already noticed earlier. Let's go out now. Everyone disperse the fog first. Of course, take care of yourselves at all times. Long Yu said in a low voice, if we go out now and get ambushed by that exotic beast, won't we be dead for sure? White-haired Deputy Palace Lord Shao of the 9 Heavenly Star Palace snorted coldly. I will not do something that is purely suicidal. The ancient dragon bone tower could disperse the surrounding fog. If we go out now, even if that withered exotic beast ambushes us, it will not be able to approach the ancient tower without a sound. Long Yu explained calmly. I believe in you, Brother Long. Chapter 430. Ling Hu Qinyan's suggestion received everyone's approval. Naturally, no one cared about Vice Palace Master Zhao's objection. After all, everyone present was someone with rich combat experience. Of course, they knew when was the best time to go out. Let's go. At Ling Hu Qinyan's command, the dozen or so Heavenly Tribulation Realm cultivators dashed out of the ancient dragon bone tower. Long Yu noticed that the white-haired Vice Palace Master Shao had purposely stayed at the back. A fierce glint flashed in his eyes, causing Long Yu to sneer inwardly. Long Yu clearly knew what this old fellow was planning in his heart. In the next moment, Long Yu also stepped out of the ancient dragon bone tower with the rest. He activated the ancient dragon bone tower, and a wave of netherworld chi spread out in all directions with a violent suppressive force. Outside, a large portion of the dusky yellow fog was indeed instantly dispersed by the ancient dragon bone tower. More than a dozen Heavenly Tribulation Realm cultivators flew out and used their own means to disperse even more of the dusky yellow fog, creating a large space. Many withered exotic beasts were gliding through the air, trying to approach the ancient dragon bone tower. However, their speed and agility were greatly reduced once they left the range of the dusky yellow fog. In addition, the ancient dragon bone tower's suppressive force on the exotic beasts posed no threat to the group at all. Can you sense where the withered exotic beast in the Divine Abilities Secret Realm is? After coming out, the group blasted away a large portion of the dusky yellow fog and looked around. However, they couldn't find any trace of the powerful exotic beast that was attacking the ancient dragon bone tower. Then let's continue dispersing the fog. As Long Yu spoke, he kept his guard up against any movement in the dusky yellow fog, as well as the white-haired Vice Palace Master Shao, who was mixed in the crowd. To Long Yu, the threat didn't just come from the powerful exotic beasts hidden in the dusky yellow fog, but also from Vice Palace Master Shao. Ling Hu Qinyan, Sha Yuan Tian, Wang Changfeng, and the others all unleashed their various techniques, sending out all sorts of energies to disperse the dense yellow mist. The space they created grew larger and larger. Perhaps it was because the Glazed Moon Palace's Grand Palace Master sensed that things couldn't go on like this. There was finally some movement in the thick yellow fog near the Glazed Moon Palace's Grand Palace Master. A fierce gust of wind swept out and reached the Grand Palace Master in the red dress in the blink of an eye. The Glazed Moon Palace's first palace master possessed extraordinary strength. Naturally, she had made preparations long ago. At this moment, her entire body was enveloped by the power of the red divine runes, and then her entire body transformed into a cloud of red smoke that instantly dissipated into the surroundings. She had actually lost her physical form. This technique was comparable to Long Yu's Dragon Sparrow Flash, and it seemed to be able to be used to evade all attacks. A strange beast with tens of thousands of withered tentacles rushed out of the thick yellow fog. Its whole body exuded a fierce aura, and it wanted to kill the great palace mistress in a single blow. However, the exotic beast could only disperse the red mist. It couldn't even touch the great palace master in the red dress. Go! It was also at this moment that the others seized the opportunity and unleashed their strongest attacks, charging towards the exotic beast. Although the withered exotic beast in the secret realm wasn't as huge as the hexagonal ice crystal beast and the spiky ball beast, it was still as tall as a few floors. Each of its tentacles was more than 30 meters long, making it an obvious target. Furthermore, after leaving the thick yellow fog, the speed of the exotic beast decreased drastically, and it couldn't dodge the attacks of the others at all. Be careful of its innate mystique, Linghu Qianyan reminded with a grim expression. He clenched his fists tightly, and a burst of heavenly mandate divine light exploded beside the exotic beast. The destructive power was enough to destroy a mountain. There were more than 10 attacks similar to Linghu Qianyan's. Even so, they couldn't kill the withered exotic beast in the secret realm. Why isn't it using its innate mystique? None of them sensed any signs of the exotic beast bursting with power. However, they were still cautious and prepared to fly into the ancient dragon skeleton tower at any moment. If the exotic beast were to use its innate mystique, they could only defend against it with the help of the ancient dragon skeleton tower. Long Yu stood at the entrance of the ancient dragon skeleton tower. If anything were to happen, he would be able to enter as quickly as possible. At that moment, Long Yu channeled the ancient dragon skeleton tower with all his might. The ferocious suppressive force suppressed the withered exotic beast with extremely long tentacles firmly, causing its speed to decrease by more than half. Continue killing. Everyone's fighting spirit was high as the power of divine texts, laws of heaven and earth-level martial techniques, and all sorts of attacks roared towards the exotic beast. All of a sudden, the tens of thousands of tentacles on the withered branch beast's body suddenly stretched out, its tyrannical strength finally exploding forth. Withstanding the violent attacks of over a dozen people, it charged towards Long Yu. At that moment, Long Yu felt a sense of danger and was about to step back and enter the ancient dragon skeleton tower. However, the moment he turned around, he discovered that the white-haired deputy palace master Xiao had blocked the entrance of the ancient dragon skeleton tower in a flash and was staring at him coldly. Descend. With a thought, Long Yu immediately controlled the entire ancient dragon skeleton pagoda to fly downwards, directly slamming into the white-haired vice palace master Xiao. The white-haired old man had not expected Long Yu to have such a reaction and was struck head-on by the ancient dragon skeleton tower, causing him to feel a little dizzy. However, it was also because of Deputy Palace Master Zhao's momentary delay that the powerful divine secret realm withered exotic beast had finally arrived in front of Long Yu. Dragon Sparrow Flash. Long Yu did not have time to enter the ancient dragon skeleton tower and could only use the Dragon Sparrow Flash immediately. The pitch-black wings on his back extended, and he turned translucent. You must have a death wish. It was also at that moment that Wang Chongfeng and the others naturally noticed Deputy Palace Master Zhao's actions. Wang Chongfeng, this shabbily dressed old man, had treated Long Yu as his disciple. How could he allow Deputy Palace Master Xiao to scheme against Long Yu? With a tilt of his body and a lift of his hand, the thundercloud storm condensed in his hand and formed a whirlpool. It roared and attacked Deputy Palace Master Xiao, who was knocked out by the ancient dragon skeleton tower. The withered exotic beast, tens of thousands of withered tentacles stabbed into Long Yu's translucent body. Had he not executed the dragon sparrow flash in time, he would have been killed in a single blow. Wang Chongfeng's attack also landed on Deputy Palace Master Xiao. However, Deputy Palace Master Xiao still reacted at the crucial moment. With a lift of his hand, a dazzling 9 heavens starlight shone and blocked the thundercloud storm whirlpool. Deputy Palace Master Xiao, what are you doing? The Azure Water Sword Sect Master White Robe let out a cold snort and was very dissatisfied with Deputy Palace Master Xiao's actions. This exotic beast had yet to be dealt with. Even if he wanted to kill Long Yu, he had to wait until all the exotic beasts were dealt with, right? As long as we obtained the ancient dragon skeleton tower, why should we listen to this kid's orders? Deputy Palace Master Xiao was pushed back several feet by the thundercloud storm whirlpool. Blood trickled down the corner of his mouth, but his eyes were filled with madness. Die! As he spoke, a burst of 9 heavens starlight suddenly extended out and enveloped Long Yu. Dragon Sparrow Instant Void. Long Yu executed the Dragon Sparrow Instant Void at his fastest speed. Using the remaining momentum of the Dragon Sparrow Flash, he circled to the other side of the ancient Dragon Skeleton Tower. As he had used the ancient Dragon Skeleton Tower to collide with Deputy Palace Master Xiao, he was now a short distance away from the entrance of the ancient Dragon Skeleton Tower. The explosive speed of the Dragon Sparrow Instant Void wasn't enough for him to enter the ancient Dragon Skeleton Tower before the effect of the Dragon Sparrow Flash ended. Hence, he could only circle around. Immediately after, he executed the ancient Dragon Skeleton Tower and directly collided with a withered exotic beast. Even though it was a powerful exotic beast in the mystic realm, it was still sent flying by the ancient Dragon Skeleton Tower. Tyrannosaurus of Sand. Sha Yuantian's attack had also arrived. His target wasn't the withered exotic beast, but Deputy Palace Master Xiao, who had attacked Long Yu. A Tyrannosaurus of Sand blocked the 9 heaven starlight, causing Deputy Palace Master Xiao's attack on Long Yu to fail. However, right at this instant, the aura of another tyrannical exotic beast suddenly emerged from the dim yellow fog nearby. He could sense that this exotic beast had been hiding at the side for a long time, and when the opportunity presented itself, it finally launched an attack like a sudden clap of thunder. There's a second one indeed. Long Yu's heart skipped a beat. He could sense that the target of the second withered exotic beast in the mystic realm was him. This made him grit his teeth. Now that he had used all his means, and the celestial chi in his body had yet to be adjusted, there was no way he could withstand the sudden attack of the second exotic beast. Is the true spirit of the Dragon of Hades about to be released? In the face of danger, Long Yu became extremely calm. However, just as he was about to activate the true spirit of the Dragon of Hades in his Dantian and try to use this extremely terrifying true spirit to deal with the withered exotic beast, the scene in front of him suddenly made him stop. All he saw was a figure in tattered clothes suddenly passing by him, taking the initiative to charge at the ambushing exotic beast. Old man. Long Yu was stunned. Then he saw a violent thunderstorm explode in front of him, and the momentum of the sudden attack of the withered exotic beast was actually blocked by the thunderstorm. Brat, why don't you run in? Wang Chongfeng's strenuous voice came from the smoke of the thunderstorm, which made Long Yu's heart skip a beat. This old man actually sacrificed himself to block this attack for him. Obviously, it was impossible for this old man, who was only in the heavenly tribulation realm, to block the all-out attack of the withered exotic beast. Old man. At this moment, Long Yu was clearly moved. However, his long experience allowed him to remain extremely calm. Wang Chongfeng had blocked this attack for him, so he would definitely die. But as long as he was delayed for even a moment, the withered branch beast in the divine ability secret realm would continue to target him and attack him. At that time, Long Yu would not have any chance of survival. The true spirit of the Dragon of the Nine Underworlds was the only thing that could save Long Yu from certain death. Furthermore, even if he managed to survive, the remaining consciousness in this body might not necessarily be his. Taking advantage of the gap when Wang Chongfeng blocked the attack, Long Yu stepped into the Dragon Bone Tower in a flash. However, the scene of Wang Chongfeng rushing over to block the attack for him remained in his eyes. Deputy Palace Master Xiao. Long Yu stepped into the Dragon Bone Tower. The entire tower shook, but he paid no attention to it. Instead, he glanced at the white-haired Deputy Palace Master Xiao, who was also hiding in the tower, with a cold smile on his face. Chapter 431. Long Yu, calm down. The Azure Watersword sect's white-robed sect master frowned slightly. Senior Wang's death is truly too unexpected. After all, no one expected that there would be two divine ability hidden realm mutated beasts. Now that we are facing a strong enemy, we should unite as one. You should be saying all this bullshit to this old fart, Yi Zichen said. Long Yu stared coldly at the white-haired Vice Palace Master Xiao. Anyone could see the murderous intent in his eyes. Long Yu had guessed that Vice Palace Master Xiao would make a move against him. He had also guessed that there might be a second beast. However, he had never expected that the whole situation would turn out like that. This Vice Palace Master Xiao actually chose to make a move just now, giving the hidden second beast an excellent opportunity. If it wasn't for Vice Palace Master Xiao, Long Yu would have run straight into the ancient Dragonbone Tower, and Wang Chongfeng wouldn't have died because of him. Long Yu, don't blame me. I didn't expect there to be two beasts either. At this moment, Vice Palace Master Xiao was standing in front of Long Yu. Unexpectedly, he was still calm and composed. He looked at Long Yu with contempt and disdain. You're just a stinking brat in the human glory realm. Yet you want to order us experts? This kind of behavior was really disgusting. However, to Linghu Qinyan, even so, Vice Palace Master Xiao couldn't die at this time. If he wanted to attack Vice Palace Master Xiao, Ling Zhiping of the Nine Heaven Stars Palace would never agree. As a result, there was a disagreement and things would be difficult to handle, especially when there were two beasts from the secret realm outside the ancient Dragonbone Tower. The situation was extremely grim. Linghu Qinyan had no choice but to comfort Long Yu. Brother Long, we can't do anything about Senior Wang's death. The most important thing now is to find a way to deal with the two beasts from the secret realm. Cut the crap. Long Yu interrupted Linghu Qinyan, stared at Deputy Palace Master Xiao, and said, if this person doesn't die, I won't deal with the beasts again. I'm afraid that this old fart will stab me in the back when I deal with the beasts. Now, no one will block the knife for me. Although Long Yu didn't know why Wang Chongfeng had blocked that attack for him, it was the truth. Could it be that this geezer was satisfied after killing his 3 traitorous disciples? Also, everyone could see the admiration the old man had for him along the way. When Long Yu thought about it, he knew that Wang Chongfeng really wanted to take him in as a disciple. But now, because of a so-called Vice Palace Master Zhao's little trick, Wang Chongfeng had actually died after taking a blow for him. Long Yu saw with his own eyes that Wang Chongfeng's body had been struck by the strange beast. Tens of thousands of withered tentacles had pierced through his body. There was no way he could have survived. As long as Vice Palace Master Xiao was still alive, Long Yu would feel uneasy. Even if it would break the unity, Long Yu had to kill this old fart first. Vice Palace Master Xiao, there are two strange beasts now. Can you guarantee that we will work together to deal with them later? Linghu Qinyan turned his head and glanced at Vice Palace Master Xiao. He was also very dissatisfied with this person for making trouble at such a critical moment, but he still said patiently, whatever grievances you have, wait until the matter is over. If we don't kill the strange beasts now, the whole Heavenly Mandate continent will suffer a disaster. I have no problem with that. Vice Palace Master Xiao nodded and looked at Long Yu with a sneer. In the current situation, Vice Palace Master Xiao certainly knew that Linghu Qinyan, Sha Yuan Tian, and the others would not kill him just for Wang Chongfeng's life. After all, there would be one less strong cultivators now. If he died, Ling Zhiping would definitely make trouble. At that time, all of them would be dead without the need for the strange beast to take action. And this was the root cause of his little trick just now. Little brother Long, you see, Vice Palace Master Xiao has promised not to do anything to you later. What do you think? Linghu Qianyin said to Long Yu patiently. How can such a despicable old man be trusted? Long Yu shook his head and sneered. Moreover, even if this old dog is telling the truth, I will not let him go. I will still say the same thing. If this old dog is not dead, I will not do anything to deal with the strange beasts. Master Linghu, please make your own decision. These words put Linghu Qianyin in a difficult position. As the master of the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Institute, Linghu Qianyin was, of course, thinking about killing all the strange beasts. Even if there was a conflict, he could only try to mediate. Seeing Long Yu so determined, this put Linghu Qianyin in a very difficult position. Everyone, why should we be afraid of this kid? Vice Palace Master Xiao heard Long Yu's words and snorted in disdain. This kid is only at the human glory realm. Now that he is surrounded by us, as long as we snatch the dragon scale from him, what's the use of this kid? Vice Palace Master Xiao is right. This kid's cultivation is too low and is not suitable to control the ancient Dragon Bone Tower. If the ancient Dragon Bone Tower is in our hands, not to mention 2 strange beasts, even 3 or 4 are nothing to be afraid of. The Palace Master of 9 Heaven Star Palace, Ling Zhiping, said indifferently. As he spoke, he looked at Long Yu with obvious ill intentions. I agree too. The white-robed sect master of Kanglin's sword sect glanced at everyone present and said, if the ancient Dragonbone Tower is in our hands, we will definitely be able to exert a stronger suppression. Seems like there is more than one old dog. Long Yu snorted. To tell you the truth, trash-like you will never be able to control the ancient Dragonbone Tower. Do you think that you will be able to activate the ancient Dragonbone Tower after we snatch it away? Isn't that dragon scale in your hand the key to controlling the ancient Dragonbone Tower? Vice Palace Master Xiao laughed heartily. Hand over the dragon scale, and I can spare your life. Otherwise, just accept your death obediently. The eyes of the chess soul lord flickered. Clearly, he was somewhat tempted. He naturally wanted to control the ancient Dragon Bone Pagoda himself. However, with so many people present, it probably wouldn't be easy to obtain the dragon scale. Sigh. Linghu Qianyin had no other choice now that things had come to this. He glanced at Long Yu and sighed. Young brother Long, hand over the dragon scale, and I will definitely protect your life. How about it? In Linghu Qianyin's eyes, helping to protect Long Yu's life was already a great favor. But why would Long Yu hand over the dragon scale? At that moment, Long Yu swept his gaze across everyone. He saw that even Shy Yuan Tian and the 2 Grand Elders of Yellow Sand Sky City were silent and did not say anything. To the trio from Yellow Sand Sky City, the most important thing now was to kill the exotic beasts and leave this place alive while protecting the entire Heavenly Mandate continent. The current situation was clearly extremely disadvantageous to Long Yu. If they stood on Long Yu's side, it would be equivalent to facing Ling Zhiping and the rest of the 5 or 6 people. That was not a wise choice. The 3 veiled female palace masters of the Glaze Moon Palace naturally had the same thoughts. All of them cast their gazes towards Long Yu. Among them, the Grand Palace Master in a red dress smiled bitterly and said to Long Yu, Young lad, I think you'd better agree. We can only deal with the exotic beast now. I can guarantee your safety together with Court Master Linghu. Furthermore, we will give you some compensation after this. How about it? In fact, as the Grand Palace Master of a major force like Glaze Moon Palace, the red-dressed female cultivator did not need to be so polite to Long Yu. This made Long Yu feel a little better about Glaze Moon Palace. After all, this force did not use its power to oppress others, unlike the likes of 9 Heaven Star Palace and Kanglin Sword Sect, who had long been proficient in using their power to bully others. However, even so, Long Yu did not intend to compromise. Ha ha ha. Long Yu laughed. Back when I participated in the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Selection, I was chased by the people of the Northern Academy. I fled all the way to the 7th floor of the ancient Dragonbone Tower. After a narrow escape, I finally gained control of this ancient Dragonbone Tower. Now, I have helped you kill so many exotic beasts from the secret realm, but in the end, you still want to take this ancient Dragonbone Tower. Ridiculous, ridiculous. I, Long Yu, have done enough for this Heavenly Mandate continent. Now that the great enemy of the exotic beasts is here, you still want to fight among yourselves. How shameless. Since that's the case, I want to fight it out with you and see who's more powerful. These words were wild and unrestrained. As soon as he said them, Sha Yuan Tian was immediately moved. Such a talent was someone from his Yellow Sand Sky City. If it was during normal times, Long Yu would definitely become a great expert of the Yellow Sand City. He might even pass the Great Selection and bring great benefits to Yellow Sand Sky City. It was a pity that he encountered the Beast Tide. How boastful! After hearing Long Yu's words, the white-haired Deputy Palace Master, Xiao, smiled disdainfully. How dare you, a brat in the human glory realm, say that you can fight with us in the divine tribulation realm? In front of us, you are not even as good as an ant, and you still want to fight with us? Brat, hand over the dragon scale obediently, and we can consider sparing your life. Otherwise, you won't be able to keep your life if we really attack. The white-robed sect master of the Kanglan Sword sect looked at Long Yu and said indifferently, "Don't say anything. You have done so much for the Heavenly Mandate continent. Maybe this exotic beast tide happened because you stole the ancient Dragonbone Tower. Now it is time for you to hand over the ancient Dragonbone Tower and compensate the Heavenly Mandate continent." Old dog, you talk too much. Long Yu closed his eyes. He did not expect that, in the end, he still had to release the true spirit of the dragon of the 9 underworlds. Although Long Yu's martial arts realm was far from that of a cultivator in the divine tribulation realm, would he still hand over the dragon scale and drag out an ignoble existence? Even if he had to die, he would die like a man. If he had known that the dragon scale would be taken by force, Long Yu would have gone straight to the 2nd level of the ancient Dragonbone Tower. He did not expect Ling Hu, Qin Yin, and the others to not be on his side. In fact, Long Yu should have known that these people only care about benefits. It was just that Long Yu had carelessly overlooked this point due to Ling Hu, Qin Yin's kindness along the way. Chapter 432. Vice Palace Master Xiao, Ling Zhiping, Chess Soul Lord, the Azure Water Sword Sect's white-robed sect master, and the middle-aged enforcer elder were all glaring at Long Yu. Even Ling Hu, Qin Yin, Sha Yuantian, and the 3 female palace masters of the Glazed Moon Palace looked like they were about to explode at any moment. Unlike the 9 Heaven Star Palace and the Azure Water Sword Sect, Ling Hu, Qin Yin, Sha Yuantian, and the female palace master of the Glazed Moon Palace didn't want Long Yu's life. They were nervous because they didn't want the Dragon Skeleton Ancient Tower to fall into the hands of Ling Zhiping and the others. Long Yu, trust me and give me the dragon scale, Ling Hu Qinyin said with a serious expression. I will ensure your safety and find a way to help you take revenge for Senior Wang. However, Long Yu couldn't hear what he said. Or rather, even if Long Yu heard it, he wouldn't give him the dragon scale of the 9 underworld. At this moment, Long Yu had already activated the true spirit of the dragon of 9 underworld that had been dormant in his Dantian for a long time. A wave of netherworld chi slowly spread out from his body, causing him to seem as if he was enveloped in a layer of faint black mist. In Long Yu's Dantian, the true spirit of the dragon of 9 underworld seemed to have finally awakened and raised its primordial and arrogant head. Seeing this scene, Vice Palace Master Xiao, Ling Zhiping, and the others felt their hearts tighten. They knew that the battle for the dragon scale was about to begin. The first to make a move was actually the inconspicuous little old man, Chess Soul Lord. With a shout, several chess pieces flew towards Long Yu. Don't even think about it. Upon seeing this, Vice Palace Master Shao directly raised his hand, causing the nine-heaven starlight to erupt, and with a loud rumble, it swept towards those chess pieces. At the same time, Ling Jiping rushed towards Long Yu's location at the fastest speed, and in the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Long Yu. It was also at this moment that a pitch-black true dragon true spirit suddenly emerged from Long Yu's back. It was accompanied by a burst of extremely violent netherworld qi that exploded forth. Even though Ling Jiping was a heavenly tribulation realm expert, he was still shocked by the netherworld aura at this moment. This was the most direct effect of the dragon of the netherworld's true spirit. The release of the dragon of the ninth hell's true spirit was capable of deterring everyone in the surroundings every single time, and the only difference was how long it lasted. Facing this group of heavenly tribulation realm experts, he definitely wouldn't be intimidated for too long. In fact, he might only be intimidated for a short instant. It was just like when he had released the dragon of the nine underworld's true spirit to intimidate Yi Luan in the Great Tang Empire's martial arena. But even if it was only for a moment, it was enough for Long Yu to do something. Go! Long Yu had no intention of fighting the heavenly tribulation realm powerhouses head-on. Instead, he took advantage of the fact that everyone was stunned by the dragon of the nine underworld's true spirit to flee into the distance. Dragon Sparrow Instant Void. At his fastest speed, Long Yu flew to the nearest staircase that led to the second floor. At the same time, the dragon of the nine underworld's true spirit followed behind him like an ancient dragon. In Long Yu's mind, a consciousness that seemed to come from the primordial era gradually invaded his mind. With Long Yu's escape, Ling Jiping, Vice Palace Master Shao, and the others quickly returned to normal. The moment they opened their eyes, they saw Long Yu fleeing in a puff of smoke. Each of them broke out in a cold sweat. They didn't know how they had been stunned, but at this moment, catching up to Long Yu was clearly their top priority. Ling Jiping took the lead. His body emitted the starlight of the nine heavens as he rapidly chased after Long Yu like a meteor. Vice Palace Master Shao, Chess Soul Lord, and the Azure Watersword Sect Master followed closely behind. Let's go! At this moment, Long Yu took a step onto the staircase that led to the second floor of the Dragonbone Pagoda. This staircase became an unbreakable obstacle between him and Ling Jiping. Following closely behind Long Yu, Ling Jiping activated the nine heaven starlight and arrived with a loud rumble. However, a layer of faint nine nether light screen appeared at the entrance of the staircase, easily blocking the nine heaven star palace. He escaped. Ling Jiping's expression darkened. Vice Palace Master Shao and the others followed closely behind. Each of them used all their means in an attempt to blast open the faint nine underworld's light screen at the staircase. However, their efforts were in vain. The Dragonbone Pagoda only opened once every 7 years. Apart from that, only those who controlled the Dragonbone Pagoda could open the passageway to the second floor. It was impossible for Ling Jiping and the others to forcefully open the nine underworld's light screen at the staircase with their heavenly tribulation realm means. This Dragonbone Pagoda was a powerful combat weapon used by the dragon of the nine underworlds in the past. The entire Dragonbone Pagoda could even withstand the attacks of the beasts in the mystical realm, let alone heavenly tribulation realm cultivators like Ling Jiping. It was completely wishful thinking for them to break through the nine underworld's light screen at the staircase. Damn it! A group of heavenly tribulation realm experts arrived at the staircase leading to the second floor of the Dragonbone Pagoda, but they couldn't break through the thin nine underworld's light screen. They immediately cursed. This time, they were in a dilemma. Want to catch up to Long Yu? They couldn't break through the nine underworld's light screen at the staircase. Want to leave the Dragonbone Pagoda? Without Long Yu activating the Dragonbone Pagoda to suppress the beasts in the mystical realm, they would definitely die if they left. Furthermore, there were still 2 withered beasts in the mystical realm outside. It had only been slightly more than 2 years since the Dragonbone Pagoda opened automatically. Were they going to wait here for close to 5 years? 5 years wasn't a long time, but it wasn't short either. especially when the beast tide was erupting. How would the entire heavenly mandate continent outside of the Dragonbone Pagoda be ravaged by the beasts after 5 years? Don't worry, Ling Jiping said with a solemn expression. This kid has many friends and family in the heavenly mandate continent. He can't just watch as the heavenly mandate continent is destroyed by the beasts. Once he thinks it through, he'll definitely come down to beg us. That's right. I suggest that we don't get separated. Just gather together and wait for him to come down. The white-haired deputy palace Lord Xiao said hatefully. What great plan. Sha Yuantian, the city lord of Sand City, mocked. Are you satisfied now? By the time you get out of here, the entire 9 Heavenly Star Palace, Azure Watersword sect, and Chess Soul Valley will probably be in ruins. Beasts will be rampaging everywhere. Haha, I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Who would have thought that this kid would be able to unleash such a strange, true spirit and intimidate us? Deputy Palace Lord Zhao's face turned pale. He shuddered at the thought of that scene, but he still quibbled. Moreover, didn't you tacitly agree with what we did and try to snatch the dragon scale? You can say whatever you want, but this matter was completely caused by you. Sha Yuantian snorted coldly. I can't be bothered to touch you for now, but if you stay here for too long, Yellow Sand City will definitely fall into the hands of the beasts. When that happens, I'll definitely cut off your head. This blatant threat made Deputy Palace Lord Zhao's face turn even paler. Fortunately, Ling Jiping was beside him and patted him on the shoulder, calming him down a little. While the many Heavenly Tribulation Realm cultivators were still arguing, Long Yu, who had run to the 2nd level of the Dragonbone Pagoda, was currently facing an abyss of suffering. The primordial consciousness in his mind was actually trying to seize control of his body. Sure enough, it wants to seize my body. Long Yu's willpower was extremely strong. He gritted his teeth, and the veins all over his body bulged. He began to roll on the stairs, clearly enduring indescribable pain. Waves of heart-wrenching pain appeared in his mind. Even someone as strong-willed as Long Yu might not be able to hold on at any moment. That unparalleled primordial consciousness had already occupied most of Long Yu's mind, causing Long Yu's mind to become a little muddled. The true spirit of the dragon of 9 underworlds that he had released floated above his head, appearing extremely strange. Long Yu roared furiously, but he was completely unable to stop the primordial consciousness from entering the depths of his mind. This primordial consciousness most likely came from the dragon seal of the 9 underworlds. If that's the case, Long Yu was unable to resist the primordial consciousness, so he thought of the source of everything, the dragon seal of the 9 underworlds in his chest. There was a crazed look in his eyes as he casually took out a bayonet from the space within the dragon seal of the 9 underworlds. With great difficulty, he seized control of his hands and began to cut open the skin on his chest. As if sensing Long Yu's crazed actions, the primordial consciousness that had invaded his mind tried to take control of his hands. However, Long Yu desperately resisted. No matter what, he could not allow the primordial consciousness to seize control of his body. Otherwise, even if Long Yu could still live, he would no longer be the same person as before. Get out of my way. The veins all over Long Yu's body bulged, and his eyes bulged. His extremely firm willpower allowed him to control his right hand to grip the sharp bayonet and pierce it directly into the skin on his chest. However, a burst of nightmare thunder flashed and blocked the bayonet in his hand. The primordial consciousness had already taken control of the nightmare thunder nomological power in his body, making it impossible for him to harm himself with a mere bayonet. Long Yu's consciousness became increasingly blurred. However, his hands became more and more agile. At the same time, Long Yu's consciousness firmly regained control of the nightmare thunder nomological power in his body. At this moment, there was a stabbing pain in his head that almost caused him to completely faint. However, he knew that once he fainted, he would never wake up again. He forcefully endured the splitting pain in his head and once again controlled his hands to cut open the dragon seal of the 9 underworlds on his chest. This time, he controlled the nightmare thunder nomological power so that it did not appear. Finally, the bayonet pierced his chest, right at the edge of the dragon seal of the 9 underworlds. Blood gradually flowed down along the bayonet. Without any hesitation, Long Yu steeled his heart and cut down with the bayonet. Immediately, blood gushed out. However, the dragon seal of the 9 underworlds that had accompanied him for so long was finally cut open. Chapter 433. In his days, Long Yu's consciousness seemed to have fused slightly with the primeval consciousness. Due to the 9 underworld dragon seal being severed by Long Yu, the primeval consciousness had separated itself from its source, causing it to grow weaker and weaker. Even though Long Yu had fainted, he still instinctively resisted the primeval consciousness. As time passed, Long Yu actually fused slightly with the primeval consciousness in his days, or perhaps it could be said that the primeval consciousness had fused into his mind. Instantly, a string of memories that seemed to come from the primeval times appeared within Long Yu's mind. So, this primeval consciousness was actually a strand of the 9 underworld dragons' consciousness, and it's actually been absorbed by me now. The 9 underworld dragon was born within the chaos of the world, and it was the ruler of a world. However, because it offended the techniques of the gods, it was annihilated by the gods. However, as the ruler of the world, the 9 underworld dragon wasn't so easily annihilated. It gradually revived in a valley within Divine Battle World and gave birth to the 9 underworld tribe. Every single member of the 9 underworld tribe has a 9 underworld dragon seal inscribed on their chest, and a strand of the 9 underworld dragon's consciousness exists within the seal. So long as the 9 underworld dragon's true spirit is released a certain number of times, this strand of the 9 underworld dragon's consciousness will attempt to invade the body of the cultivator. I've encountered a situation where the 9 underworld dragon's consciousness has invaded my body. Long Yu finally figured out the situation he was in. However, he was different from the other members of the 9 underworld tribe because the 9 underworld dragon seal on his chest had been inscribed by someone. This time, even though he didn't have the 9 underworld dragon seal, he had fused with a strand of the 9 underworld dragon's consciousness within his mind. To a certain extent, this strand of the 9 underworld dragon's consciousness was even more formidable than the 9 underworld dragon seal. There were probably no past warriors of the 9 underworld tribe that had severed the 9 underworld dragon seal on their chest like Long Yu had. After all, the 9 underworld dragon seal was the symbol of glory to the warriors of the 9 underworld tribe. As for what would happen after being invaded by a strand of the 9 underworld dragon's consciousness, Long Yu didn't have any related memories. However, there were many useful fragmented memories that caught Long Yu's attention. For example, there were some forbidden martial techniques that the dragon of the 9 underworlds knew. Underworld Dragon's 9 explosions is actually the most basic martial skill that the 9 underworld dragon often performs. It's called the Great Desolate martial skill. Above the Great Desolate level martial skill, there are even stronger martial skills. Unfortunately, the memory of these martial skills is not complete. To Long Yu's delight, he'd unexpectedly fused with a strand of the primeval consciousness of the dragon of the 9 underworlds, and there was actually a method to execute the 9 underworlds explosion without any side effects. As long as I slightly change the circulation path of the profound chi, this martial skill will not cause any harm to the body. Martial skills are actually so magical. Long Yu's eyes lit up. According to the original cultivation method of the Dark Dragon 9 explosions, one had to comprehend it to perfection in order to not have any side effects. But now, according to Long Yu's newly obtained memories, the current him could use this move as he wished without any side effects of his body becoming stiff. As for why the cultivation method he had obtained before had such a flaw, Long Yu didn't know. And this point had increased his understanding of the various martial skills by more than a little bit. The different circulation paths of profound qi in the body had caused Long Yu to be fascinated by the martial skills of this world. But now was clearly not the time to study this. I've already grasped 1/10 of the divine rune. The power of divine runes is the most primitive power between heaven and earth. It originally had no form, but various races transformed this power into words, images, and other forms to make it easier to comprehend and use. Every divine rune is divided into different attributes. The divine rune is one of the shadow attribute divine runes. Regarding divine runes, Long Yu now had a better understanding of their nature. Moreover, he also thoroughly understood that if he wanted to comprehend divine runes, the most fundamental thing was to obtain the divine rune seal, or go to the source of divine runes. From the memories that Long Yu had obtained, the source of divine runes was not a place he could go to right now. If he wanted to further comprehend the divine rune, he had to obtain the divine rune seal. Divine rune seals were not naturally formed by the heavens and earth. Rather, they were imprinted by someone who had thoroughly comprehended a certain divine rune. This would make it easier for juniors to comprehend it without having to go to the source of divine runes. Although I don't know what sort of place the source of divine runes is, it is clearly not something that a martial cultivator at my level can come into contact with. To be able to comprehend 1/10 of the divine rune seal is already more than 10 times stronger than before. Long Yu casually sensed his own strength. If he released the divine rune seal, he could definitely kill a Tribulation Realm powerhouse in a single blow. Moreover, the divine rune seal also had various other effects, the most important of which was the deterrent effect. For example, once the true spirit of the Dragon of 9 Underworlds was released, it could directly intimidate a Tribulation Realm powerhouse for 1 or 2 breaths. This could determine the outcome of a battle. Long Yu opened his eyes and felt refreshed. He was lying in the center of the 7th floor of the ancient Dragonbone Tower, surrounded by dense netherworld qi. It was precisely because of this dense netherworld qi that Long Yu was able to comprehend 1/10 of the divine rune seal's power so quickly. Not only that, but when he raised his head and looked around, he discovered that he could actually control the netherworld qi on the 7th floor of the ancient Dragonbone Tower. Resonance, heartbeat. This is the feeling of compatibility. Long Yu was overjoyed. He could clearly feel that the entire ancient Dragonbone Tower was under his control, as if he was resonating with a combat weapon. This ancient Dragonbone Tower is actually an incomplete antiquity-level combat weapon. Its power is 2 levels higher than a heaven-level combat weapon. When Long Yu discovered that he was resonating with the ancient Dragonbone Tower, he obtained information about the ancient Dragonbone Tower. An antiquity-level combat weapon was something he had never heard of before. From his memories, he knew that the antiquity level was a level higher than the desolate level. The 9 Underworlds explosion is a desolate level combat technique. The ancient Dragonbone Tower is an incomplete antiquity level combat weapon. This is something that the martial arts cultivators of the heavenly mandate continent can't even imagine. Long Yu sighed inwardly. Even a heaven-level combat weapon, such as the God-restraining lock he had previously obtained, was already extremely precious to the people of the heavenly mandate continent. However, above heaven-level combat weapons were desolate-level combat weapons, and even antiquity-level combat weapons like the ancient Dragonbone Tower. Although the ancient Dragonbone Tower was already incomplete as an antiquity-level combat weapon, it was still much more powerful than any Earth-level or Heaven-level combat weapon. Moreover, when Long Yu discovered that he was resonating with the ancient Dragonbone Tower, he was finally able to observe the situation outside through the tower from within. The resolution to cut off one's wrist and his cruelty to himself allowed Long Yu to usher in his own transformation. He had assimilated a wisp of the dragon of the 9 Underworld's archaic consciousness, comprehended 1/10 of the Yu, divine character, and resonated with the ancient Dragonbone Tower. Now, he was even able to use the 9 Underworld's explosion without restraint and release the true spirit of the dragon of the 9 Underworlds. In just a short while, Long Yu's overall combat ability had increased by many times. Moreover, Long Yu had already devoured and assimilated the wisp of the dragon of the 9 underworlds' archaic consciousness. It seemed like he did not need to worry about the archaic consciousness taking over his body like before. From the looks of it, only a short while has passed. Long Yu sensed the situation on the first floor of the ancient Dragonbone Tower and saw that Sha Yuan Tian and the other heavenly tribulation experts were still arguing. Outside the ancient Dragonbone Tower, countless withered exotic beasts had surrounded it. In particular, the 2 withered exotic beasts from the secret realm were guarding the ancient Dragonbone Tower from above and below, as if they were waiting for something to arrive. Are they waiting for stronger exotic beasts to come and destroy the ancient Dragonbone Tower? Long Yu felt a sense of urgency. At this moment, although his strength had increased greatly, there was no way he could fight the exotic beasts from the secret realm. Even if he were to face a heavenly tribulation expert, Long Yu would still be killed in 2 or 3 moves. After all, the difference in martial realm was too great. The difference in the laws of heaven and earth that they could borrow was too great. The good news was that Long Yu could now control the ancient Dragonbone Tower to hover in midair from within. This was also a new ability brought about by his resonance with the ancient Dragonbone Tower. Let's see how the passageway to the alternate world is. Long Yu made up his mind and immediately controlled the ancient Dragonbone Tower to fly towards where the Northern Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm used to be. After resonating with the ancient Dragonbone Tower, Long Yu could sense every detail and corner of the ancient Dragonbone Tower. Furthermore, he could connect to the entire ancient Dragonbone Tower from the 1st to the 7th floor. The entire ancient Dragonbone Tower now moved according to Long Yu's will, as if he was controlling his own limbs. Naturally, its speed was much faster than before. The 2 withered exotic beasts from the secret realm did not seem to have expected the ancient Dragonbone Tower to move directly and were caught off guard. However, they were afraid of the aura of the ancient Dragonbone Tower and only dared to follow from afar. After a short while, the 2 exotic beasts seemed to have sensed that the ancient Dragonbone Tower was heading towards the alternate world passageway that they had constructed. Immediately, the 2 exotic beasts attacked the entire ancient Dragonbone Tower in a frenzy. Sharp withered tentacles danced in the air and wrapped around the entire ancient Dragonbone Tower. One of them wrapped around the top of the tower, while the other wrapped around the base, trying to stop the ancient Dragonbone Tower from moving forward. At the same time, countless other withered exotic beasts from the celestial and true spirit secret realms flew over and latched onto the body of the ancient Dragonbone Tower. The strong resistance made it impossible for Long Yu to control the ancient Dragonbone Tower to move forward. After all, they were withered exotic beasts from the secret realm. Furthermore, they were entangled by countless withered exotic beasts from the celestial and true spirit secret realms. There was no way Long Yu could withstand them with his strength alone. In the next moment, not only was the ancient Dragonbone Tower unable to move forward, it even retreated further and further away. This caused Long Yu's face to darken. However, right at this moment, a black beam of light shone from the dusky yellow fog in the surroundings, dispersing a large portion of the fog instantly. Then, like a black bolt of lightning, it darted over and penetrated a withered exotic beast from the secret realm instantly. In the ancient Dragonbone Pagoda, Long Yu sensed this through the pagoda and immediately widened his eyes. Someone's here to finish off a withered exotic beast from the secret realm with a single move? Chapter 434. When that black oily light flew over like a bolt of black lightning and instantly killed the withered beast from the secret realm at the top of the Dragonbone Tower, Long Yu couldn't help but be shocked. He was certain that in the heavenly mandate continent that he knew of, even among the 7 major forces of the heavenly Dipper realm, no one could have done this. Just as he was feeling puzzled, a girl in a short black dress flew out of the thick yellow fog. With just a lift of her hand, she completely dispersed the yellow fog around her. Long Yu observed the girl carefully. The black dress she wore was made of a very special material. It seemed to be some kind of powerful combat weapon. It gave off an overbearing aura, which puzzled Long Yu. He had never seen a combat weapon in a short skirt before. If it wasn't custom-made, who would make a combat weapon that looked like a short skirt? Moreover, on the girl's left earlobe was a black, sparkling earring. This black earring was like a teardrop. At first glance, it didn't look very eye-catching, but Long Yu instinctively noticed it. The primordial consciousness that he had fused with told him that this earring wasn't something simple. Under the black skirt, a pair of snow-white long legs were exposed to the air, causing Long Yu to be unable to shift his gaze away. Looking further up, he could see that the girl in the black skirt had a sweet appearance. However, there was a hint of craftiness in her eyes. Perhaps she was a mischievous girl. Her long, black hair was draped behind her, swaying in the wind. Her eyes reflected the ancient dragon skeleton tower and the withered beast below, revealing a playful expression. From the looks of this girl, she can't be more than 20 years old, but the aura she exudes is indeed that of the secret realm. Long Yu was shocked, but it didn't stop him from thinking. The appearance of the girl in the black dress immediately attracted the attention of the withered beast from the secret realm. This gave Long Yu the opportunity to activate the Dragon Bone Tower, making it move toward the Northern Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm at the fastest speed possible. The withered beast from the secret realm wanted to stop him, but it was stopped by the long-haired girl in the black dress. She raised her hand, and the black light continued to condense into a beam that swept out, completely penetrating the withered beast from the secret realm. In front of this girl, the withered beast from the secret realm was completely no match for her. After dealing with the beast, the long-haired girl in the black dress followed the Dragon Bone Tower, wanting to catch up to it as quickly as possible. Long Yu activated the Dragon Bone Tower with all his might. Soon, he arrived at the 88th Star Beast Garden of the Northern Academy of the Mandate Realm of the Dragon Bone Tower. The entire of the Dragon Tower directly crashed into the passageway of the strange aura. Crack! The passageway of the passageway turned into a crystal and was absorbed into the Dragon Bone Dragon Tower. Long Yu was on the 7th floor of the ancient Dragon Bone Tower. He saw the crystal that had been transformed from the passageway to another world appear before him, along with the other crystals he had collected previously. Long Yu was on the 7th floor of the Dragon Bone Tower. He saw that the passageway of the Heavenly Mandate Realm appeared in front of him along with the few crystals he had collected previously. From the Southern Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm to the General Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm, the West Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm, and now the Northern Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm, Long Yu destroyed a total of 4 passageways and obtained 4 crystals. From the 4 crystals in front of him, Long Yu sensed a very strange power. It was as if through these 4 crystals, he could reach different spaces. Could it be the power of space? Long Yu thought to himself. On the Heavenly Mandate continent, the number of space weapons was extremely small. Only some of the cultivators of the celestial realm were qualified to have them. However, the power contained in these 4 crystals was obviously more powerful than that of the space weapons. They were of a higher level. Long Yu didn't think too much about it. He activated the Dragon Bone Tower and let it float upwards. The girl in the black skirt outside was too powerful. If it wasn't necessary, Long Yu didn't want to go against her. Since the beast from the secret realm of the Heavenly Mandate Realm of the Northern Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm had been killed and the passageway of the Heavenly Mandate Realm had been destroyed by Long Yu, it was better to get to the Eastern Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm as soon as possible. The girl in the black skirt moved as fast as lightning. She arrived at the top of the Dragon Bone Tower in the next moment. She had a playful and curious look on her face. She sized up the entire Dragon Bone Tower but didn't make a move. After thinking about it, she moved and circled around the Dragon Bone Tower before stepping into it. Exotic beasts didn't dare to step into the Dragon Bone Tower, but this girl in the black skirt was a human through and through. Humans wouldn't be suppressed when they stepped into the Dragon Bone Tower. Seeing this, Long Yu felt a headache coming on. Since she killed the exotic beast from the secret realm, she shouldn't have any ill intentions. Maybe I should go up and talk to her, Long Yu thought to himself. He made up his mind and transmitted his voice to the girl in the black skirt through the dragon scale of the Juyo. Friend, I'm Long Yu, a martial arts cultivator from the Heavenly Mandate continent. May I ask who you are? His voice was a little hoarse and muffled, making it hard for others to hear him clearly. However, it wasn't a problem for the girl in the black skirt to hear him clearly. The voice obviously made the girl in the black skirt even more curious. This ancient dragonbone tower is actually under your control. That's amazing. The girl in the black skirt clicked her tongue and said, Where are you? Can you come out and see me? Long Yu couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when he heard that she didn't seem to have any ill intentions and that they could still communicate. I'm afraid not. If you have anything to say, let's just say it. Long Yu rejected the girl's request to see him right away. Even if she didn't seem to be hostile, Long Yu still had to be wary. Who knew if this girl would want to snatch the dragon bone tower from his hands like the others? You don't have to be afraid. I'm the princess of Shura County. I sensed something strange on Heavenly Mandate Island, so I came to take a look. I didn't expect a passageway to another world to appear, and even exotic beasts from the secret realm have come here, the girl in the black skirt said casually. At the same time, she kept looking inside the Dragon Bone Tower with a curious look. This ancient tower has a strong suppressive ability against exotic beasts. If I work with you, I might be able to kill exotic beasts from the secret realm. Shura County? Heavenly Mandate Island? Long Yu was confused by the girl's words. What kind of place was Shura County? Was Heavenly Mandate Island referring to the Heavenly Mandate continent? Could it be that the Heavenly Mandate continent that everyone thought was just an island? Heavenly Mandate Island is the world within the 1,000 layers of heavenly stars. In fact, it's just a floating island within Shura County. The black-skirted girl, the so-called Azura County Lord, narrowed her eyes into crescent moons and explained, The Azura County governs over 100 of these floating islands. I see, Long Yu said in a low voice. He then asked, So, Shura County is part of the divine battle world? You're a strange person. The Shura County princess chuckled. If others heard me say that, they would never believe that the place they live in is just an island. But not only did you believe it, you even know about the divine battle world. Impressive, impressive. No wonder you're the one who controls this ancient tower. No matter how impressive I am, I'm not as impressive as you. Long Yu said directly, Could it be that the great selection that happens once every 20 years is initiated by people from Shura County? The great selection, right? The Shura County princess did not pay much attention to this. She continued to look at the Dragonbone Tower. Tell me, how do you control this ancient tower? I can't tell you, unless I know more about Shura County. Long Yu did not answer her question. Instead, he stated his conditions. The Azura County princess was slightly taken aback, but she soon giggled and said, In the entire Azura County, you're the first person who dares to speak to me in such a manner. However, the ignorant are not guilty. I will forgive you this time. Long Yu was rather puzzled. This Shura County princess seemed to be quite an impressive person. The Heavenly Mandate continent was just a floating island surrounded by the 1,000 layers of heavenly stars. And Shura County governed over 100 floating islands, including the Heavenly Mandate continent. In other words, over 100 worlds like the Heavenly Mandate continent were under the jurisdiction of Shura County. This girl in the black skirt was actually the Shura County princess. Her status was naturally different. Since you're unwilling to tell me, I won't force you. One day, you'll have to tell me obediently. There's still a passageway to another world left on this Heavenly Mandate Island. How about we head there together and get rid of it? The Shura County princess did not force Long Yu. Instead, she changed the topic. All right, Long Yu agreed. He naturally had no objections to going to destroy the exotic beast together. On the contrary, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. With the Shura County princess in the secret land of magic taking action, there should be no problem dealing with the remaining exotic beasts. As expected, I still have to rely on the help of outsiders. However, If it weren't for the scheming of those from the Heavenly Mandate continent and their ulterior motives, it wouldn't have taken so long. Long Yu thought to himself. Then, he sensed that the Shura County princess had already left the Dragon Bone Tower. She led the way in front and waved her hand to push the Dragon Bone Tower, making it move forward at an extremely fast speed. A young girl and an ancient tower flew quickly in the direction of the East Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm. Long Yu sensed the many Tribulation Realm cultivators at the entrance to the second level of the Dragon Bone Tower. He found that they were still arguing endlessly. However, many of them were already calling for him to appear and continue working together. "I'm really sorry, but I already have a new partner." Long Yu narrowed his eyes and thought to himself. After being ambushed by his own people more than once, Long Yu had long been disappointed in these people. Now that he had the help of the Shura County princess, there was no need to rely on the Tribulation Realm cultivators. As for the matter of the Shura County princess, Long Yu did not intend to let these Tribulation Realm martial arts cultivators know. Soon, the East Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm was in front of him. Through the Dragon Bone Tower that resonated with it, Long Yu felt the aura of a powerful exotic beast coming from the direction of the East Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm. It's a muddy exotic beast. Chapter 435. The Azura County Lord was extremely fast. She crashed into the space in front of her that was filled with rising marsh gas like a fluttering black butterfly. Long Yu activated the Dragon Bone Tower and followed closely. Soon, he felt that the Dragon Bone Tower had crashed into many strange beasts. However, these beasts were all corpses. The Azura County Lord, who had entered first, could kill a large number of swamp strange beasts with a wave of her hand. The rising marsh gas blocked Long Yu's vision. It also made the Dragon Bone Tower more and more viscous and slow down. Fortunately, the Azura County Lord's body emitted a pitch-black light that dispersed the rising marsh gas. The path was smooth and led to the 88th Star Beast Garden of the Eastern Academy of the Mandate Realm. Just as they were about to reach the entrance of the 88th Star Beast Garden, two strange, swamp-strange beasts from the secret realm suddenly sprang out of the marsh gas. They split into dozens of pieces of mud and attacked the Azura County Lord who was flying in front of them. Dragon Bone Tower, suppress. Long Yu suppressed the two strange beasts that had split into dozens of pieces of mud as quickly as he could. Their strength was immediately reduced by more than half. The Azura County Lord smiled mischievously. She raised her hand, and a dark light gathered to form a giant hand. It grabbed one of the clones of the strange beasts. Azura explosion. As the Azura County Lord said these three words, the dozens of pieces of mud that the strange beast had split into were all blown to pieces by the dark light. A strange beast from the secret realm died, just like that in the Azura County Lord's hands. With such strength, you don't need my help at all. Long Yu felt the Azura County Lord's terrifying combat strength and was rather puzzled. In a battle of this level, a guy in the Renoir realm like him couldn't help at all. Although the Dragon Bone Tower could suppress strange beasts, the Azura County Lord didn't need to suppress strange beasts at all. So the Heavenly Mandate continent is actually Heavenly Mandate Island. Heavenly Mandate Island is under the jurisdiction of the Azura County Lord. This means that the entire Heavenly Mandate continent is the territory of the Azura County Lord's father. Long Yu thought to himself, should I seduce this Azura County Lord and ask for her help? 20 years ago, his father had stepped into a dangerous place in the Heavenly Dipper realm, the Heavenly Prison Lightning Pool. Long Yu wanted to step into the Heaven Prison Thunder Pool, but he knew nothing about the Heaven Prison Thunder Pool. Of course, he would not rashly enter it. Perhaps the Shura County Lord knew something about the Heaven Prison Thunder Pool? Just as Long Yu was thinking about this, the Azura County Lord in front of him raised her hand again. A dim light exploded and instantly killed the second mud beast in the Divine Power Secret Realm. But then, an endless amount of swamp beasts surged out of the rising swamp gas. Some were from the True Spirit Secret Realm, and some were from the Sky Human Secret Realm. Even though they knew they were no match for the Shura lady, the beasts still clung to her and tried to hold her back. No matter how many come, we'll kill them all. The Azura County Lord giggled. She did not take these strange beasts seriously at all. With a thought, a dim light scattered in all directions, and a large group of strange beasts in the swamp was completely blasted into pieces. Let's go. Longy did not waste any time. He drove the dragon bone ancient pagoda and flew toward the 88th Star Beast Garden. Along the way, countless strange beasts in the swamp were crushed by the dragon bone ancient pagoda. They stuck to the body of the dragon bone ancient pagoda and rotted into a pool of mud. Although he had already taken care of the two beasts in the divine power secret realm, to Longyu, he had to destroy the passageway to the alternate world to be considered a true success. To the Azura County Lord, this trip might have been just for a stroll. But to Longyu, this was an important battle that concerned many things. He cannot afford to be careless. Something doesn't seem right. Longyu drove the dragon bone ancient pagoda forward. It was also attacked by thousands of strange beasts in the swamp. Soon, the entire pagoda was covered in mud and became sticky. The speed of its advance was almost negligible. In the past, Longyu had never encountered so many strange beasts. They were so fearless that they wanted to drag them down. County Lord, I think it's a little strange. Let's stop fooling around and destroy the passageway as soon as possible. Longyu thought for a moment, then suggested to the Azura County Lord, who was killing the strange beasts in the swamp. All right, wait for me to kill my way over. The Azura Countess giggled. She was wearing a short black dress, and her body was like a dancing butterfly. She danced among the filthy beasts in the swamp. Soon, she killed all of them. Then, she turned into a beam of dark light and dashed forward. Along the way, there were still countless strange beasts in the way, but the Azura County Lord swept them clean with a wave of her hand. Longyu frowned slightly when he saw her actions. This little girl seemed to be enjoying killing the low-level strange beasts in the swamp. Something might happen if they dragged things out like this. County Lord, you'd better hurry up. I can't get through here anymore. Longyu urged her directly. The ancient dragon bone tower had already been completely covered by the strange beasts in the swamp. It had turned into a tower of mud and was stuck far away, unable to move even an inch. Don't rush me. I know what I'm doing. The Azura County Lord was rather displeased with Longyu's urging. However, just as she finished speaking, an extremely powerful force suddenly erupted in front of her, sweeping towards her. Watch out! Longyu's heart clenched when he saw this. He activated the Netherworld Chi on the 7th floor of the ancient Dragonbone Tower as quickly as possible, releasing it completely. The ancient dragon skeleton pagoda broke through the sticky mud in an instant and headed straight for the Azura County Lord to defend her. The Netherworld Chi was released from the entire ancient Dragonbone Tower. This was the technique that you could use after resonating with the ancient Dragonbone Tower, unleashing the Netherworld Chi. The eruption of the Netherworld Chi allowed the ancient Dragonbone Tower to break free from its sticky state and block the path of the Azura County Lord. With a deafening boom, Longyu felt as though the entire ancient Dragonbone Tower was about to split apart. The degree of shaking was much stronger than when it had been attacked by the strange beasts in the Mystic Realm. It's a strange beast from the Emperor Path Mystic Realm, a king among the strange beasts. The Azura County Lord could not help but exclaim. Ever since Longyu had met her, this was the first time she had revealed such a shocked expression. There was nothing she could do about it. The force that had suddenly appeared was simply too powerful. If it wasn't for Longyu blocking that attack for her, she would have perished from the face of this earth. Emperor Path, Mystic Realm? Longyu asked in a solemn voice. Could it be something even stronger than the Mystic Realm? At least you have some brains. The Azura County Lord's expression instantly turned grim. Above the Mystic Realm is the Emperor Path Mystic Realm, where one can become an emperor. My father is in charge of all the experts in Shura County. He is one of the few Emperor Path Mystic Realm experts in Shura County. The Emperor Path Mystic Realm was even stronger than the Mystic Realm, the king among the strange beasts. Of course, Long Yu knew that he and the Azura County Lord had been too slow, and the strange beasts in the swamp were too annoying. That was why the passageway to the alternate world had finally transported a truly powerful strange beast over. No matter how strong the Azura County Lord was, she had only just entered the mystic realm. It was impossible for her to deal with an existence as strong as her father. To make matters worse, the Azura County Lord had only come to the floating islands to inspect the situation before the election. She had not expected to encounter danger, so she had not brought any bodyguards with her. In fact, even if she had brought some bodyguard from the mystic realm, they would not have been able to stop the king of the Emperor Path mystic realm. Be careful, let's go. The Azura County Lord made a prompt decision and wanted to retreat. However, the king of the Emperor Path mystic realm had come here through the passageway to the alternate world. How could it let her escape? The next moment, a pool of mud-like dark green liquid swept toward the Azura County Lord from all directions. The mud-like dark green liquid could completely corrode the bodies of other strange beasts in the swamp. It was obvious how terrifying its corrosiveness was. Hurry into the ancient tower. As soon as Long Yu said this, the Azura County Lord seemed to have woken up from a dream and dashed straight into the ancient Dragon Bone Tower. Just as her figure disappeared from the entrance of the ancient Dragon Skeleton Tower, a large amount of dark green venom sprayed down from the surroundings, contaminating the entire ancient Dragon Skeleton Tower. The powerful corrosive effect caused even the body of the ancient Dragon Skeleton Tower to be slowly corroded. Damn it, why would there be a strange beast from the Emperor Path mystic realm on this insignificant heavenly mandate island? The Azura County Lord's breathing quickened, and her full chest rose and fell rapidly. It was obvious how nervous she was. Come up to the second level and find me. Long Yu's voice rang in the Azura County Lord's ears again. The Azura County Lord thought about it and nodded. She then followed the route Long Yu had told her and went up to the second level of the ancient Dragon Bone Tower as quickly as possible. To prevent the Azura County Lord from bumping into Ling Zhiping, Sha Yuan Tian, and the others, Long Yu let the Azura County Lord go up to the second level. However, when the Azura County Lord came up, Long Yu did not appear. The reason was that Long Yu was still a little worried that the Azura County Lord would snatch the ancient Dragon Bone Tower. The other party was a strong cultivator of the secret realm. Long Yu had to be careful. Where are you? The Azura County Lord went up to the second level, but she only saw a series of intersecting empty passages. She could not see Long Yu and could not help but feel a little displeased. I'm activating the ancient Dragon Bone Tower to defend against the attacks of the strange Beast King. I'm afraid you'll have to wait if you want to see me. Long Yu's hoarse voice was heard, and the Azura County Lord was instantly enraged. You brat, how dare you trick me? The Azura County Lord glared at her surroundings, as if trying to find where Long Yu was hiding. However, how could she find Long Yu on the 7th level of the ancient Dragon Bone Tower? At this moment, the entire ancient Dragon Bone Tower shook with a loud bang, as if there was an earthquake. The intensity of shock was more than 10 times stronger than when it was attacked by the strange beast from the secret realm. Chapter 436. Dressed in a short black dress, the Azura princess closed her eyes and frowned slightly. She sat on the second floor of the Dragon Bone Tower to rest. Of course, the truth was that she couldn't rest well, either. The entire Dragon Skeleton Tower was shaking more and more violently. Clearly, the Beast King in the Emperor's Path Secret Plane was much stronger than the Beast in the Divine Ability Secret Plane. They weren't on the same level at all. What's going on outside? Can this broken pagoda of yours withstand it? The Azura princess asked. A huge pile of mud has surrounded the ancient tower. I can't see what's going on outside. Long Yu transmitted his voice directly. As for whether this tower can withstand it, I don't know either. I can only take a gamble. I'm so stupid to put my life in the hands of an unreliable guy like you. The Azura princess was extremely confused. I think I'm still very reliable. I've already reminded you to destroy the passageway to the other world. Long Yu smiled faintly. This made the Azura princess even more confused. How would I know that the passageway to the other world would send beasts from the divine secret realm over? This is something that can only be done by my old man. It was obvious that this girl, who was clearly not even 20 years old, was very dependent on her father, even though she was already a martial arts cultivator in the divine secret realm. A cultivator from the divine secret realm who could rule over the entire Azura County naturally had extraordinary strength and boldness. The secret territory of the King's Path allowed one to become a king or emperor. Once one stepped into it, one could stand out from the crowd and become a true king in this world. At the very least, one could become a commandery king and rule over hundreds of worlds like the Heavenly Mandate continent. And now, such a big shot among the beasts was thinking of ways to deal with Long Yu's Dragon Bone Tower. I have bad news for you, Long Yu suddenly said. The first floor of this ancient tower is starting to crack. In my opinion, I'm afraid it will soon start to collapse from the first floor. Doesn't that mean it will soon be my turn on the second floor? The Azura country mistress furrowed her brows. Her cute face turned into a smile. Hurry up and open the door. Let me go to a higher level. I don't want to die in that ugly guy's hands. All right, come to the third floor. Long Yu said straightforwardly and opened the stairway to the third floor for her. Only the third floor? That won't do. I have to at least go to the last level to ensure my safety. Lady Shura giggled and said, My father will be here soon. I can't die before that happens. If I die, all of you on Heavenly Mandate Island will be buried with me. This was not a joke. On the seventh floor, Long Yu controlled the ancient Dragon Bone Pagoda to resist the terrifying attacks from the outside world. He could only let out a bitter laugh. Then come all the way. No matter what, it seemed like he really couldn't afford to offend the Azura country mistress now. Otherwise, where father arrived, Long Yu would be in trouble. The Azura countess giggled. After that, she soared through the air and flew towards the route Long Yu had given her with her fastest speed. Very quickly, she went from the second floor to the third floor, then to the fourth floor. Soon, she arrived at the sixth floor and stood at the entrance of the stairway, leading from the sixth floor to the seventh floor. Princess, you have to think this through. Rumor has it that no martial arts cultivator who has entered the seventh floor of the ancient Dragon Bone Pagoda has ever been able to leave. Of course, I'm an exception. Long Yu reminded her. Since you can move freely on the seventh floor, I'm sure you can let me move freely too, right? The Azura country mistress didn't care at all. She waved her hand and said, I'm coming in. Remember to keep me safe. As soon as she finished speaking, the figure in the black skirt stepped into the seventh floor of the ancient Dragon Bone Pagoda. Long Yu was really speechless about the Azura country mistress. Was it because she had never encountered any setbacks since young that she was so daring? She even dared to enter the seventh floor of the ancient Dragon Bone Pagoda. To be honest, Long Yu really didn't know if he had the ability to protect the others on the seventh floor. However, since the Azura country mistress had already entered, Long Yu had no choice but to try. The seventh floor of the ancient Dragon Bone Pagoda was still divided into two parts. The outer layer was surrounded by a five-color glow that could absorb energy, while the center was filled with dense Hades chi. The Azura country mistress soon discovered that it was an independent space after entering the seventh floor of the ancient Dragon Bone Pagoda. There was no exit. What filled the area around her was a five-color glow that could absorb energy. This is the law of five-colored siphon. The Azura country mistress couldn't help but feel surprised when she sensed the power of the five-colored glow. Then, her face was filled with shock. No, that's not right. It's not the law of five-colored siphon. It's a type of divine text that's even stronger. The seventh floor of the ancient Dragon Bone Pagoda is filled with the power of so many divine texts. What's the law of five-colored siphon? Long Yu's figure appeared in front of the Azura County Lord as he asked. His words attracted the Azura country mistress' attention. The mischievous girl sized up Long Yu before giggling. So you're so young. I thought you were already in your 70s or 80s. Why would you think that? Long Yu couldn't understand. How can anyone guess your age when you make your voice sound so hoarse? The Azura country mistress flew through the air and soon arrived in front of Long Yu. She sized him up even more closely with a look of admiration in her eyes. This ancient dragon bone pagoda is something that even my father, the Azura country lord, can't control, yet you're in control of it. Why would I expect you to be so young? That's not what we should be concerned about now. Long Yu said calmly. You're right. The Azura country mistress slapped her head. The rumors in the heavenly mandate continent say that one can only enter but not leave the 7th floor of the ancient Dragonbone Pagoda. However, that's only for martial arts cultivators below the secret plane of divinity. Take me, for example. I won't be sucked dry by the power of the 5-colored siphon. That's true. But can you leave? Long Yu asked in return. The Azura country mistress frowned. I'll have to take a good look before I know. At least, my father has entered and left. A cultivator from the secret plane of the Emperor's Path has been here, but he didn't manage to control the ancient Dragonbone Pagoda. Long Yu's heart skipped a beat. He was now even more certain that he was able to control the ancient Dragonbone Pagoda because of the dragon seal of the 9 underworlds. There were no other reasons. What's wrong with your chest? The Azura country mistress suddenly noticed a large patch of red on Long Yu's chest. It seemed that his chest had been severely injured. It's nothing. I was injured earlier. Long Yu shook his head. In reality, he was the one who had gotten rid of the dragon seal of the 9 underworlds. However, there was no need to tell the Azura country mistress about this. The good news for Long Yu was that the Azura country mistress did not seem to have any intention of snatching his ancient Dragonbone Pagoda. The bad news was that the entire 1st floor of the ancient Dragonbone Pagoda was collapsing at an extremely fast rate. At this rate, it would not be long before the 1st floor of the ancient Dragonbone Pagoda was completely destroyed. If the 1st floor was destroyed, the ancient Dragonbone Pagoda would become even more dilapidated. Long Yu had no idea what would happen next. As for Sha Yuantian and the others who were at the stairway leading from the 1st floor to the 2nd floor, Long Yu could not be bothered to inform them. These guys were probably only thinking about their own interests. Long Yu could not be bothered with them. After all, he did not need to rely on them anymore. If all the old fellows were to die, the heavenly mandate continent would belong to the younger generation in the future. This was not a bad thing. Just as Long Yu was thinking about this, a terrifying aura suddenly surged from the top of the ancient Dragonbone Pagoda, shocking Long Yu. Previously, the muddy beast from the Emperor's Path had appeared and attacked the ancient Dragonbone Pagoda. That power was enough to destroy the heavens and the earth. One attack would probably be able to split the mountains and rivers of the entire heavenly mandate continent and cause the mountains to collapse. That was already very shocking to Long Yu. But now, the terrifying power surging from the top of the ancient Dragonbone Pagoda was much stronger than the power that the Emperor's Path had displayed at the beginning. It tore through space. The next moment, Long Yu realized that all the mud surrounding the ancient Dragonbone Pagoda had been dispersed. He could finally see the scene outside through the ancient Dragonbone Pagoda again. He looked directly at the top of the ancient Dragonbone Pagoda and found that a huge crack had suddenly appeared in the blue sky. A spatial passageway. Long Yu's heart skipped a beat. He was extremely sure that the huge crack in the sky above was another form of spatial passageway. Moreover, it was much more advanced than the passageway to the other world. That was because the spatial whirlwind that came from the crack was tens of thousands of times stronger than the passageway to the other world. At the same time, a blurry figure, which Long Yu felt was somewhat familiar, floated out from the torn space. The figure was like a celestial being, like a dream or illusion. What kind of power is that? The Azura County Lord also felt the frightening power above her head. Her eyes widened in shock. I don't know. Is it your father? Long Yu asked. No, even my father isn't that strong. The Azura princess shook her head. That's strange, yeah? Long Yu frowned slightly. He suddenly realized that the figure that floated out from the ethereal aura was the mysterious woman that he had seen a few times in his memories. This mysterious woman seemed to be called Consort Yu. She was also the woman who had imprinted the dragon of 9 underworlds on Long Yu's chest. This discovery made Long Yu's heart beat wildly. Ever since he had stepped onto the path of martial arts, he had been constantly pursuing and advancing towards a higher realm. Wasn't one of his main goals to find out who this mysterious woman was? Chapter 437. Originally, the Emperor's Path swamp exotic beast had been flaunting its prowess at the top of the Dragon Bone Tower, wanting to destroy the tower. However, a large crack appeared in the sky, and the fairy-like figure appeared. The Emperor's Path swamp exotic beast was immediately illuminated by a strong light, and its entire body began to melt. A roar was heard from the swamp exotic beast. The Emperor's Path swamp exotic beast seemed to want to resist, but it was no match for the mysterious woman at all. Consort, you can even kill the Emperor's Path swamp exotic beast directly. Long Yu's heart pounded wildly as he carefully sensed the power of the mysterious woman Consort Yu's strong light. However, he was unable to understand what that power was. He could only vaguely sense the power of the divine text, but it was even more powerful than the divine text. As the mysterious woman Consort Yu's strong light shone, other than the Dragon Bone Tower, all the other swamp exotic beasts from the other worlds were melted and annihilated. Not even their remains were left. The area around the Dragon Bone Tower and the Eastern Academy of the Heavenly Mandate Realm finally regained its clarity. Not even a single swamp exotic beast remained. A lonely passageway to another world appeared in front of Long Yu. His heart skipped a beat as he raised his head and sized up the mysterious woman Consort Yu once again. However, he saw that Consort Yu was floating in a dense divine aura. Her entire body was still very hazy, and he could only occasionally see the snow-white ribbons of her dress drifting out. All of a sudden, Consort Yu's gaze seemed to penetrate the Dragon Bone Tower and land directly on Long Yu, who was on the 7th floor of the tower. This one glance caused Long Yu's mind to feel dizzy. Soon after, his entire body lost consciousness. He was completely unable to resist. Long Yu felt that he had entered a dream. In this dream, his body was completely floating in the middle of a vast expanse of white, and around him, there was a huge pitch-black dragon flying swiftly around him. Dragon of 9 underworlds? Long Yu frowned slightly. He could sense the aura of the dragon of 9 underworlds from the black dragon. It felt like the strand of primordial consciousness. However, at this moment, this dragon of the 9 underworlds seemed to be incomplete, and its strength wasn't extremely formidable. This caused Long Yu to recall the strand of primeval consciousness that had fused with his mind. Because he had removed the 9 underworld dragon seal from his body in time, this strand of immemorial will was indeed incomplete. Because of this, he was able to fuse with that strand of immemorial will. Otherwise, the immemorial will would have most likely taken over his body. After all, the primordial will was far too powerful, and it wasn't something that could be resisted with just willpower. Could it be that the dragon of the 9 underworlds flying around him was the manifestation of that strand of incomplete primordial consciousness? Long Yu frowned slightly and tried to sense the aura of the huge black dragon. Very soon, he discovered that it was indeed the strand of primordial consciousness that had fused with his mind. Originally, he had been able to somewhat control this strand of primordial consciousness, and it was most likely because of this that he could fuse with the ancient dragon skeleton tower. However, now, Long Yu discovered that he couldn't control the black dragon that had been manifested from the strand of primordial consciousness at all. The black dragon was hundreds of feet away from him, and it circled around him a few dozen times before flying off into the distance. In that direction, Long Yu saw 5 dazzling crystal-shaped objects. These are crystals formed from the passageway to another world. Long Yu thought to himself. Then he watched helplessly as the black dragon drilled into the 5 crystals that were gradually condensing together with a pung sound. After the black dragon drilled into the 5 crystals, The speed at which they condensed increased, as if some sort of force was forging them into a certain shape. Not long after, Long Yu discovered that the 5 crystals had fused together and were then forged into a crystal weapon in the shape of a dagger. The strand of primordial consciousness of the dragon of the 9 underworlds was sealed within the crystal dagger, causing the entire crystal dagger to emit a strange and eerie aura. Nether Void Dragon Dagger. Let's call it that. An ethereal but extremely pleasant female voice spread from all directions and entered Long Yu's ears. Even with Long Yu's current cultivation, he couldn't tell where the voice was coming from. "Your name is Consort Yu?" Long Yu couldn't help but ask the question in his heart. No one answered Long Yu. But immediately after, Long Yu saw the hazy silhouette of the mysterious woman, Concubine Yu, appear in front of the crystal dagger. She then raised the crystal dagger and slashed it down on her white wrist. A drop of blood stained the crystal dagger, the Nether Void Dragon Dagger. To be able to pass the backlash of the Nether Dragon, you really didn't let me down. It was that ethereal and beautiful female voice again. It was emotionless. Long Yu's heart couldn't help but tighten when he heard that. The backlash of the dragon of the 9 underworlds was actually Consort Yu's test for him. From the looks of it, Consort Yu seemed to be training him, but what was the point of training him like that? Of course, Long Yu didn't know, and Consort Yu clearly had no intention of telling him. "If you don't tell me clearly, I might not continue to cultivate like you think." Even in the face of the goddess like Consort Yu, Long Yu didn't compromise. It wasn't easy for him to meet her, so he had to find out the truth, even if he had to threaten her. "Hey, you will." There was a hint of certainty in Consort Yu's tone. She then waved her hand in a blur and tossed the Nether Void Dragon Dagger to Long Yu. This dagger contained some decent power. Study it well. After saying that, Consort Yu's hazy figure became even more indistinct until it completely disappeared from Long Yu's sight. Then, Long Yu felt like he had woken up from a dream. He opened his eyes abruptly, only to find that he was still on the 7th floor of the ancient dragon skeleton tower at the center of the entire space. The Azura lady was floating quietly beside Long Yu, as if she had fallen into a deep sleep. She probably didn't know about the conversation between Consort Yu and Long Yu. Right, perhaps even the Azura lady isn't qualified to talk to Consort Yu. After all, that Consort Yu is an exotic beast that can kill an Emperor Path secret plane with a wave of her hand. Long Yu thought to himself. He didn't think too much about it, but lowered his head and looked at the Nether Void Dragon Dagger in his hand. It was a beautifully shaped crystal dagger. Long Yu felt extremely comfortable holding it in one hand, which made some kind of blood in his body start to flow again. Daggers and daggers were both weapons used for assassination. This Nether Void Dragon Dagger was made from 5 crystals formed from the tunnel to another world. Not only was it infused with a wisp of the dragon of the 9 underworld's ancient consciousness, it was also infused with the mysterious woman Consort Yu's blood. It was easy to imagine how powerful it was, although it didn't look very impressive, and it was a little translucent when held in Long Yu's hand. No one would notice it at all. However, the power it contained was something even the ancient dragon skeleton tower couldn't compare to. The Void Crystal is what exotic beasts use to build the tunnel to another world. Long Yu learned some things about the exotic beasts from the Nether Void Dragon Dagger. Among the hexagonal ice crystal exotic beasts, there was a type of individual that was born with the power to control the void. They could secrete the power of the void and condense it into a void crystal. This time, the exotic beast tide broke out in the various courtyards of the Heavenly Mandate Academy because a hexagonal ice crystal exotic beast had accumulated for a long time and used some method to split the void crystal among the various Heavenly Mandate Academies. The Heavenly Mandate Academy had a total of 4 branches and 1 main academy. Each academy had 88 star beast gardens, which were specially used for the training of their disciples. The exotic beasts, they were all captured from the ancient dragon skeleton tower. The special abilities of all the exotic beasts in the ancient dragon skeleton tower were suppressed. Naturally, they couldn't condense void crystals. However, after they were brought out of the ancient dragon skeleton tower and kept in the Heavenly Mandate Academy. They were naturally able to condense void crystals over time, thus triggering the exotic beast tide this time. These exotic beasts were naturally unwilling to accept being suppressed by the ancient dragon skeleton tower. From the beginning to the end, they had been thinking of escaping from the ancient dragon skeleton tower and guiding the cultivators of their clans over to occupy this world. It was a pity that Consort you had discovered it in time. Only then could they nip the problem in the bud and get rid of the exotic beast tide before it truly broke out. And this was because Long Yu had cut off the dragon seal of the 9 underworlds, which had attracted the attention of Consort you, who was far away in another space. It seems like I've saved the entire Heavenly Mandate continent by cutting off the dragon seal of the 9 underworlds. Long Yu had never expected the truth to be like this. However, the outcome was pretty good. At the very least, the entire exotic beast tide had been dealt with perfectly, and he had even obtained a nether void dragon dagger. For the time being, Long Yu wasn't sure of the grade of this war weapon, but it was at least great desolate grade. It might even be an ancient grade existence like the ancient dragon skeleton tower. Every single void crystal used to construct the tunnel to another world requires a hexagonal ice crystal exotic beast that has inherited the innate talent of the void. It needs to work continuously for dozens of years before it can be condensed. Needless to say, it's extremely precious. Of course, a battle weapon made from 5 void crystals is extraordinary. Long Yu fiddled with a nether void dragon dagger in his hand and nodded in satisfaction. Although he still didn't know what that consort you was nurturing him or what she expected of him. As long as he became stronger, he would naturally be one step closer to the truth. I had originally thought that this exotic beast tide was caused by me gaining control of the ancient dragon skeleton tower. Now, it seems like that's not the case at all. Long Yu heaved a sigh of relief. In the next moment, the girl in the black short skirt floating beside him, the Azura princess, yawned and opened her eyes sleepily. What's wrong with me? Why did I fall asleep all of a sudden? Did you do something? The Azura princess opened her eyes and saw Long Yu, and she immediately became alert. It has nothing to do with me. I fell asleep just now, too. Long Yu shook his head calmly and said, however, the exotic beast from the secret realm of the Emperor Path seems to have been killed by a mysterious expert. We can leave this place now. Mysterious expert? Do you know who it is? The Azura princess looked excited. The power I felt just now was even stronger than my father's. It must have come from beyond the sky. Beyond the sky? Chapter 438. Beyond the Heavenly Mandate continent, or rather, beyond the Heavenly Mandate Island, was the vast Shinwu world, which was also the world where the Jiuyo tribe was located in Long Yu's memory. The Beyond the Sky that the Azura princess mentioned was the world outside the Shinwu world. All the strange beasts and the mysterious woman, Consort Yu, all came from beyond the sky. It was only then that Long Yu finally realized how big this world was. The Heavenly Mandate continent was nothing more than a floating island. However, to Long Yu's disappointment, the Azura princess had never heard of the Jiuyo tribe. He didn't know if it was because it was too far from the Shura County, or because the Jiuyo tribe was too hidden. How's the ancient tower? The Azura princess asked. I remember that the first floor of the ancient tower seemed to have collapsed. Thank you for your concern. The ancient tower is fine. Long Yu waved his hand. If that's the case, I'll send you away. Why don't you come with me? The Azura princess looked at Long Yu with admiration. You're strong and smart. You're qualified to be my subordinate. What do you think? I won't leave this place until I get my revenge. Long Yu shook his head. If others knew that Long Yu refused such an opportunity without hesitation, they would probably curse him to death. After all, it was a young princess of Ashura County who invited him. Even the young geniuses of Ashura County who weren't on the Heavenly Mandate Island couldn't wait to become the subordinate of the Shura County princess. However, Long Yu refused. Do you know that the number of young geniuses who want to be my subordinate can fill the entire Heavenly Mandate Island? The Azura princess raised her eyebrows and snorted. Any of the geniuses in the Shura County would be as talented as you. It's not that I don't want to be your subordinate. It's just that I have things to do here. Long Yu said calmly. You said you haven't gotten your revenge. What is it? The Azura princess asked. During the battle with the beasts, one of the sect's vice palace lords framed me and caused the death of one of my friends. A cold light flashed in Long Yu's eyes. He recalled the scene of Wang Chongfeng blocking the divine ability Secret Realm's sure-kill attack for him. Then, Wang Chongfeng's tattered clothes were torn to pieces, and he died on the spot. All of this was because of Deputy Palace Lord Xiao of the Nine Heaven Star Palace. If not for the white-haired Deputy Palace Master Zhao's sudden intervention to stop Long Yu from entering the ancient Dragon Bone Pagoda, Wang Chongfeng wouldn't have been needed to protect him. If Long Yu didn't kill Vice Palace Master Xiao, how could he face Wang Chongfeng, who died in his place? Although this old man was not a good person, he had always taken good care of Long Yu. Whether it was the Tears of the Firmament blood cultivation technique, or the initial water manipulation martial technique, or the Dragon Sparrow dance movement martial technique, they were all of great help to Long Yu. In the face of a great enemy, you people of Heavenly Mandate Island still have selfish desires and want to harm you. The Azura County Lord's eyes lit up in surprise. Not bad. Long Yu nodded. If I'm not wrong, that person is a Heavenly Tribulation Realm expert. With your current strength, it won't be easy for you to deal with that person. The Azura County Lord burst into laughter. Why don't you come back with me and use the resources of the Azura County to quickly improve your martial arts realm? You can come back when you've reached the Divine Secret Realm. At that time, it'll be much easier for you to take revenge. You're right. Long Yu glanced at the young princess, and then he said, It's not impossible for me to go back with you and be your subordinate. But I have a condition. If you want me to avenge you, then forget it. My father has decreed that Azura County's martial cultivators are not allowed to interfere with the matters of the subsidiary floating islands. The young princess shook her head. Of course, I'll take revenge myself. Long Yu chuckled. My condition is related to the Heaven Prison Thunder Pool. My father went into the Heaven Prison Thunder Pool 20 years ago. I want to go in and find him, but I don't know what's in the Heaven Prison Thunder Pool and whether it's dangerous. Isn't the Heaven Prison Thunder Pool one of the 3 forbidden places on Heavenly Mandate Island? The young princess was a little surprised. Your father has been in there for 20 years. He's dead for sure. That place is full of divine power. Even if I go in there, I won't be able to come out alive. I can't be at ease if I don't go in and have a look. Long Yu frowned. How about this? First, you become my subordinate. If you perform a meritorious deed, then I can legitimately ask my father to let him in to take a look. The young princess rolled her eyes and came up with an idea. What do you think? It's a good suggestion, isn't it? You want me to be your subordinate so badly. Long Yu asked with a faint smile. It's okay. Anyway, you're quite pleasing to the eye. At least you're not like the others who flatter me every time they see me. The young princess waved her hand. That's not the point. The point is that as long as you become my subordinate, you'll naturally have more cultivation resources. You'll be able to improve your martial arts plane at the fastest speed. For you, there are only advantages and no disadvantages. Are you sure? Long Yu glanced at the lively girl in the black skirt. He always felt that if he really became her subordinate, there would be a lot of trouble coming to him. Ahem, of course, there will be disadvantages. But with your strength and brains, you'll definitely be able to turn misfortune into blessing. The young princess coughed and said honestly, If you become my subordinate, there will definitely be many young geniuses who will be jealous of you. They will continuously challenge you. Do you dare to fight with the geniuses of our Shura County? If they're at the same plane as me, I'll kill one if one comes. If 2 come, I'll kill a pair. Long Yu said casually, but if their plane is much higher than mine, then it's hard to say. Geniuses whose martial arts plane is much higher than yours won't even bother to challenge you. So, do you agree to be my subordinate? The young princess's eyes were filled with hope as she looked at Long Yu. I have to go to Yellow Sand Sky City first. Long Yu said, That's okay. I'll go with you. The young princess said with a smile. Didn't you say that you can't interfere with the affairs of Heavenly Mandate Island? Long Yu raised his eyebrows. I'm just going with you to take a look. This is not interference. The young princess had a sly look on her face. And don't worry, if it's not necessary, I won't let anyone discover my existence. You can go and do your own things. After you're done, you have to follow me back to Shura County and listen to my orders from then on. Long Yu knew that this was an excellent opportunity. Although it was a little unpleasant to listen to a little girl, she was the princess of Shura County. One had to know that the Azura region governed hundreds of floating islands like the Heavenly Mandate continent. In this way, Long Yu could go to the outside world without passing the selection. This was a great opportunity that others could only dream of. There was no reason to give up. Of course, before leaving, Long Yu must go back to Yellow Sand Sky City to see his mother, Bei Yu Yao, and give her the 100 refined 5 elements elixir that Wang Chongfeng had stolen. Bei Yu Yao's Dantian was seriously injured. Xiao Zhaji, the new elder of 9 Heaven Star Palace, used this 100 refined 5 elements elixir to convince Bei Tianyi to marry Bei Yu Yao and cure her Dantian injury. Wang Chongfeng took the opportunity to steal the 100 refined 5 elements elixir and cripple Xiao Zhaji. This made Long Yu feel very happy. Unfortunately, Wang Chongfeng was killed by Xiao Zhaji's grandfather, Deputy Palace Lord Xiao of 9 Heaven Star Palace. Long Yu didn't have the strength to avenge this blood feud, but it wasn't impossible. Wait here. I'll fool those guys in the Heavenly Tribulation Realm first. Long Yu's perception was transmitted to the first floor of the ancient Dragonbone Tower through the dragon scale of the Tartarus realm, where the stairs leading to the second floor were. Here, Sha Yuantian, Ling Zhiping, Deputy Palace Lord Xiao, Linghu Qianyan, and others were still gathered together, discussing countermeasures. Until now, they still didn't know that the beast tide on the Heavenly Mandate continent had been resolved. Some cracks had appeared on the walls of the first floor of the ancient Dragonbone Tower, which made these Heavenly Tribulation Realm cultivators a little anxious. What Long Yu wanted to do was to fool these guys and see if he could instigate a civil war between them. At the very least, he wanted to see if he could kill Deputy Palace Lord Xiao. Killing someone wasn't the only way. If you guys don't come to an agreement soon, the ancient tower won't be able to hold on any longer. When that happens, none of you will be able to survive. Long Yu's voice was transmitted through the dragon scale of the Tartarus realm, landing in the ears of Sha Yuantian, Ling Zhiping, and the other Heavenly Tribulation Realm cultivators. Everyone was delighted. That was because there was no more news from Long Yu after he set foot on the second floor of the ancient Dragonbone Tower. No matter how they begged, Long Yu didn't come out. It was obvious that he didn't want to care about what was happening here. If this continued, wouldn't they all be doomed once the ancient Dragonbone Tower was destroyed? Cracks had already appeared on the walls of the first floor of the ancient Dragonbone Tower. These cracks made everyone anxious, and they couldn't help but consider the possibility of the ancient Dragonbone Tower being destroyed by exotic beasts. In reality, if not for the mysterious woman, Consort Yu, appearing, the ancient Dragonbone Tower might really have been destroyed by the exotic beast kings of the Imperial Path secret realms. Now, Long Yu was taking advantage of the situation to threaten everyone. Long Yu, as long as you come out, everything can be discussed. Right now, it's more important for us to deal with the exotic beast together. Linghu Qianyan said with a solemn expression. That's right, little brother Long, you'd better come out quickly. Otherwise, the entire Heavenly Mandate continent will fall and be occupied by exotic beasts. Your friends and family won't be able to survive. The little old man from the Chesol Valley said indifferently. His words were laced with a hint of threat. Ha! Do you think that's enough to threaten me with that? Long Yu laughed and said straightforwardly, if you guys agree to one condition of mine, I'll hand over the ancient Dragonbone Tower. Otherwise, we'll all die together. What condition? Everyone was excited. Kill Deputy Palace Lord Xiao. Everyone's expressions changed at Long Yu's words. Chapter 439. The young lord could roughly guess what Long Yu was up to when she saw how sinister he was. It'll be weird if those old fogies fall for your tricks. The young lord giggled. No matter what, it's always good to give it a try. What if they really fall for it? Long Yu narrowed his eyes. Right then, the heavenly tribulation experts gathered on the first level of the ancient Dragonbone Tower began to ponder carefully. Many of them looked at Vice Palace Master Xiao with malicious intent. Vice Palace Master Xiao was pale with fright. Don't listen to that little bastard. Even if you kill me, there's no way he'll hand over the ancient Dragonbone Tower. That's not necessarily the case. I think Long Yu should be very cooperative without you. The Glass Moon Palace's Grand Palace Master in a red dress said indifferently. Palace Master Ling, if you support us in killing Vice Palace Master Xiao, you'll be in charge of the ancient Dragonbone Tower. How about that? Sha Yuantian looked at Ling Zhiping, who was beside Vice Palace Master Xiao. He raised his brow and asked. Those words clearly made Ling Zhiping envious. However, as the Palace Master of 9 Heavenly Astral Palace, he was no fool. How could he help outsiders against his own people? It would be fine if they could really obtain the ancient Dragonbone Tower. However, the problem was that they had yet to see Long Yu. Cut the crap. Ling Zhiping's face darkened. Long Yu, if you have the guts, hand over the ancient Dragonbone Tower to someone you trust first. We'll carry out your conditions together. That's the most appropriate way. Palace Master. Vice Palace Master Xiao was stunned. Ling Zhiping really wanted to use his life in exchange for the ancient Dragonbone Tower. Shut up. Ling Zhiping glared at Vice Palace Master Xiao, secretly cursing this old fogey for being retarded. Hand over the ancient Dragonbone Tower first. What value do I have in your eyes? Why would you carry out my conditions? Long Yu laughed. Since that's the case, forget it. We'll just wait to be killed by the beast together. No matter what, I'll definitely die later than you guys. After saying this, Long Yu no longer paid attention to the group of people. Just now, he was just speaking casually. He didn't really expect to frame Vice Palace Master Xiao to death. You said you want to go to Yellow Sand Heaven City now? On the 7th floor of the ancient Dragonbone Tower, the young princess in a short black dress asked Long Yu. I have a medicinal pill on me that I want to bring to my mother. Long Yu nodded. Then let's go. There's no time to lose. The young princess said to Long Yu, by the way, your name is Long Yu, right? Not bad. Long Yu nodded. This little girl must have heard his name from someone else. What's your name? I won't tell you. Normally, you have to call me Master. The young princess said proudly. Impossible. Long Yu glanced at the young princess and said after a pause, since you won't tell me your name, I'll just call you Princess. How petty. My name is Shu Chan, remember it. The Azura County Lord pouted. Only then did Long Yu chuckle lightly. Before long, Long Yu sent Shu Chan, the Azura princess who was trapped on the 7th floor of the ancient Dragonbone Tower, out of the tower through the Dragon Scale of Hades. The Dragon Scale of Hades contained some sort of spatial power. Not only was it a vast space to store the ancient Dragonbone Tower, but it could also perform some special techniques. For example, it could send the others trapped on the 7th floor of the ancient Dragonbone Tower out. As for Long Yu himself, he could clearly feel that he had relied on the spatial power of the Dragon Scale of Hades to leave the 7th floor of the ancient Dragonbone Tower. The two of them left the ancient Dragonbone Tower and saw the ruins of the Eastern Academy of Revelation. Fortunately, all the exotic beasts present had been completely killed. Under the power of the mysterious woman, Consort Yu, the swamp exotic beasts did not even leave a trace. All that was left was a dilapidated ruin floating in the air, floating in the colorful light of the Tiangang. The sun was shining brightly in the sky. It was a good day. The crisis of the exotic beast tide had finally been resolved. Not far away, a group of people was gradually approaching. They seemed to be people from the Eastern Academy of Revelation. Do you want to see them? Shu Chan glanced at them and seemed to have heard the voices of the group. She then asked Long Yu. Shu Chan's cultivation was extremely tyrannical. She was able to see the other party. She was able to hear the other party's words. But the other party had yet to discover her and Long Yu's figure. I won't see them. Long Yu shook his head. He had helped the Sacred Academy of Revelation get rid of so many exotic beasts. It could be said that he had done his best. Although he was not the one who resolved the crisis in the end, if it were not for him, the situation would have been very bad. Long Yu did not know anyone in the Eastern Academy of Revelation. There was no need for him to see them. He put the ancient dragon bone tower into the dragon scale of the 9 underworlds, and then followed the princess, Shu Chan, flying up to the 11th level of the Tian Gang above their heads. Break! Shu Chan let out a delicate shout, and a burst of pitch-black light was emitted. Instantly, the 11th layer of the Heavenly Dipper was easily broken, and she brought Long Yu through it. Shu Chan, what kind of divine text power is this? Long Yu asked. Azura divine text, a branch of the shadow divine text power. Shu Chan did not hide it and said it directly. Then she asked, do you know the 8 major attributes of divine text? I don't know. Tell me. Long Yu was a little curious. In heaven and earth, divine text is divided into 8 major attributes. The shadow divine text is just one of them, and it is the opposite of the light divine text. Shu Chan explained, every type of divine text has many branches. The power of my Azura divine text is one of the branches of the shadow divine text. The divine text of each attribute branch also has different characteristics. Shadow divine text, light divine text. Long Yu nodded. Then my power is also of the shadow divine text, right? As soon as he said that, Long Yu gathered the power of the Yu character, condensed it into a beam, and directly broke through the 12th level of the Tian Gang. Not bad. Shu Chan's eyes lit up when she saw that. However, although you have only comprehended 10% of the power of the divine text, it is extremely powerful. It is much more powerful than the power of my Azura divine text. There are grades of divine text too. Long Yu asked again. I have never heard of divine text being divided into grades, but the power of your divine text is indeed stronger than ordinary divine text. Shu Chan's brows furrowed slightly. She also didn't understand. This made Long Yu's heart skip a beat. He thought that there were only 3 ways for people to comprehend the power of the divine text. The first way was to go to the source of divine text. The second way was to comprehend the divine text engraved by their ancestors. The third way was like when Bei Tianyi asked people to comprehend the fighting character during the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Selection. The power of the divine text comprehended by these 3 ways was naturally different. For example, during the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Selection, everyone had comprehended Bei Tianyi's fight character, or Long Yu had comprehended the hide character left behind by Wang Chongfeng. They had definitely only been able to comprehend the weakest divine character power. And for those who directly comprehended the divine text engraved, such as Bei Tianyi or the Azura princess Shu Chan, the power of the divine text comprehended was naturally much stronger than the previous way. Because of this, Long Yu guessed that if he could go to the source of divine text, the power of the divine text comprehended would be even stronger. Perhaps this Yu character of mine is the same as comprehending it directly from the source of divine text? Long Yu thought for a moment and felt that this was highly possible. After all, the dragon seal of the 9 underworlds was so mysterious, and the woman who had engraved the dragon seal of the 9 underworlds, Consort Yu, was even more mysterious. It was not impossible to say that the Yu character that he comprehended was directly from the source of divine text. But Long Yu did not say this to Shu Chan. After all, the mysterious woman Consort Yu, the dragon of the 9 underworlds, and the source of divine text were things that even the Azura princess did not know about. When we arrive at the Prefecture King City, I can give you an attribute stone and let you test what kind of divine text power you can comprehend the most easily. As the Princess Shu Chan spoke, she broke through several levels of the Big Dipper realm and finally brought Long Yu to the 25th level of the Big Dipper realm. Long Yu could see the yellow sand heaven city floating in the air from afar. Shu Chan, wait for me. I'll be right back. Long Yu said to the princess, there's no need to be anxious. This time, you'll be leaving with me. You won't have a chance to return anytime soon. Say goodbye to your friends." The princess, Shu Chan, waved her hand. With a flash, her petite figure actually disappeared from Long Yu's sight. There's no trace or aura at all. Long Yu looked around, but could not find any trace of Shu Chan. He could only shake his head helplessly and head for Yellow Sand Heaven City as fast as he could. The group of Heavenly Tribulation Realm experts in the ancient Dragonbone Tower still thought that they were still surrounded by exotic beasts. They had no idea that Long Yu had already brought them back to Yellow Sand Heaven City. As the city lord Sha Yuan Tian and the two supreme elders had already left Yellow Sand Sky City, the entire city was heavily guarded at this moment. "Stop right there." A martial cultivator guarding the gate stepped forward and stopped Long Yu. He yelled, "Who are you? What are you doing in my Yellow Sand Heaven City?" "I'm Shan Gui, a friend of Yi Luan." Seeing this, Long Yu took out a ghost mask and put it on. The martial cultivator immediately reacted and said, "So, it's Brother Shan Gui. Please come in. I'll send someone to inform young Master Yi Luan." Long Yu nodded and prepared to wait at the gate for a while. He couldn't just barge into the city. However, he did not see Yi Luan coming. Instead, he saw the brutish Gu Yan, who was covered in injuries. Gu Yan, one of the Gu brothers who followed Yi Luan, was considered to be extremely powerful among the Renhua realm cultivators. However, right now, Gu Yan's naked upper body was covered in wounds that were dyed with fresh blood. It was obvious that he had just been injured. "Brother Gu Yan, what's going on?" Long Yu's expression changed slightly. He hurried forward. "Young Master Yi is being surrounded. Hurry up and come with me to help him," Gu Yan said in a deep voice. He turned around impatiently and rushed into the city with Long Yu. Yi Luan was actually being besieged in his own territory. Chapter 440. Long Yu followed Gu Yan into the city and soon arrived at a luxurious restaurant. In the restaurant, Yi Luan, Gu Jun, and Gu Yan were ambushed by a large group of people who had been lying in ambush. After the city lord and the two great elders left, Zhu Tao and Qi Ziguang seized the opportunity to deal with young Lord Yi. Gu Yan ignored the blood flowing from his body and rushed toward the restaurant with Long Yu. At the same time, he explained, "The owner of this restaurant is the woman that young Lord Yi admires." Young Lord Yi had just returned from outside when he heard that Zhu Tao and Qi Ziguang were harassing her. Young Lord Yi immediately rushed over, but he didn't expect, "Is young Lord Yi all right?" Long Yu asked in a deep voice. He didn't expect the city lord and the two great elders to leave Yellow Sand Sky City to deal with the beasts outside. He didn't even know if they were dead or alive. However, under such circumstances, Zhu Tao and Qi Ziguang had brazenly started an internal strife in an attempt to eliminate Yi Luan. Obviously, Zhu Tao and Qi Ziguang both thought that Yi Luan had a high chance of becoming the fourth city lord, so they couldn't help but make a move. However, Long Yu felt a little strange. Zhu Tao was already very old, but as the second senior brother, he was only at the heavenly beginning stage. Qi Ziguang was even worse. He was only at the mortal glory stage. Based on their talent and hard work, even without Yi Luan, the position of city lord should not have fallen to them. If that was the case, why did they have to stand out and deal with Yi Luan? One had to know that although the city lord and the grand elder had not returned, if they were to be questioned afterwards, they would not be easily forgiven for daring to frame or even kill Yi Luan. It was even more impossible for them to become the fourth city lord. Of course, Long Yu didn't think too much about it. He only pondered for a while before putting it to the back of his mind. After all, helping Yi Luan out of trouble was the most important thing. Anyway, I'm about to leave the Heavenly Mandate continent. It doesn't matter, even if I show my strength. I can also test where my limits are. Long Yu's eyes flickered with a bright light. Zhu Tao, isn't this pig a Heavenly Origin Stage martial cultivator? I can use it to test my strength and see if my current strength is enough to deal with a Heavenly Origin Stage martial cultivator. Out of the way! Gu Yan roared in anger, instantly causing the crowd to disperse. After which, he soared into the air and entered the third floor of the restaurant. Long Yu followed closely behind. The moment he stepped in, he discovered that Yi Luan was already covered in blood. If it wasn't for Gu Jun risking his life to block for him, Yi Luan would probably have collapsed a long time ago. Gu Jun actually stepped into the mortal tribulation realm. Long Yu glanced at the scene and rejoiced. If it wasn't for the fact that Gu Jun, who used the Gu family spear technique, had broken through to the human tribulation realm, he would have been covered in blood like Yi Luan. Surrounding Gu Jun and Yi Luan were many martial cultivators. They were all Zhu Tao and Qi Ziguang subordinates. All of them were staring at the scene with cold smiles on their faces. "Oh, you've called for a helper." Zhu Tao had a plump figure and a pair of small triangular eyes, making him look extremely wretched. He stood to the side and confidently glanced at Long Yu. "Isn't this our famous Long Yu? I never imagined that you'd be able to return alive. You even hid your identity and lied to us that you were a mountain ghost. TSK, what a joke. I'm Long Yu, but also a mountain ghost. A ghost that's here to take your life." Long Yu spoke in an indifferent tone before he slowly walked forward and arrived beside the heavily injured Yi Luan. The well-built Gu Yin slowly walked over, seemingly unconcerned about the injuries on his body. "Brother Long, you leave now." Yi Luan could vaguely sense that Long Yu had returned and subconsciously wanted to tell him to leave. After all, Zhu Tao was a heavenly origin expert, and even he was not his match. "Long Yu." At this moment, two shouts came from the crowd outside. Then, two figures soared into the sky and entered the restaurant. Bei Yuyao and Dou Zicheng. One was at the initial human stage, while the other was at the Hua stage. The two of them were useless in this situation, but when they saw Long Yu, they immediately stepped forward without hesitation. Of course, Bei Yuyao couldn't just watch her son die. Not bad. Not bad. There are more and more people here, but in my opinion, this is still not enough. The plump second senior brother, Zhu Tao, swept a glance at Bei Yuyao and Dou Zicheng before he let out a disdainful laugh. "You're all a bunch of idiots." The luxuriously dressed young man, Qi Ziguang, smiled smugly as he looked at the crowd. "I purposely let Gu Yin leave to lure all of you here. I didn't expect all of you to fall for it. Not bad, not bad. Let's die together." "I'm so touched. I don't care if you're Long Yu or Shan Gui. You said you're here to take my life. I don't know where you got your confidence from, but you'll soon find out that blind confidence will kill you." Zhu Tao looked at Long Yu with a vicious glint in his eyes. He then waved his hand and said, "Kill them." Among the surrounding martial cultivators, there was a heavenly origin stage expert like Zhu Tao. There were also 4 human tribulation stage martial cultivators. The lineup was extremely powerful, so Yi Luan and Gu Jun were no match for them. Judging from the number of martial practitioners and their cultivation levels, Zhu Tao's side had an overwhelming advantage over Yi Luan's side. Wait, just as the crowd was about to swarm forward, Long Yu suddenly raised his hand and narrowed his eyes at Zhu Tao. "What? Are you going to beg for mercy?" Zhu Tao smirked. "That's not difficult. I'll spare your life if you swear your loyalty to me and kill Yi Luan with your own hands. Such a chaotic battle is too unsightly. It'll be a pity even if the flowers and plants are damaged." Long Yu said calmly, "If that's the case, why don't I fight you alone?" As soon as he said this, everyone around him was stunned. Did they hear it wrong? Long Yu, who had just reached the human glory realm, was proposing to fight Zhu Tao, who was in the heavenly origin realm. They would laugh their heads off. "You want to challenge me? Do you have the right?" Zhu Tao was startled, but he soon smirked. "Lei Heng, I'll leave this kid to you. Since he wants to fight me alone, you should show him who he is." As soon as he finished speaking, a human tribulation realm martial cultivator stood out from the crowd with a mocking look on his face. "So you're Long Yu? I heard that you almost crippled Chu Chinka in the last competition." "That's my friend, Lei Heng." The muscular martial cultivator stood out and stared at Long Yu coldly. "You were able to participate in the competition of the human glory realm when you were only in the human origin realm, and you even won the championship. However, that was just an accident. Soon, you'll know the difference between the human glory realm and the human tribulation realm. Without saying a single word, Long Yu turned around and walked out of the restaurant. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw that on the third floor of the restaurant, behind where Zhu Tao was standing, there was a beautiful woman quietly observing the situation. That woman must be the owner of this restaurant, the woman that Yi Lun admires, right? However, from the corner of his eye, Long Yu did not see any concern or worry on the beautiful woman's face, which made Long Yu slightly confused. Logically speaking, this woman had been harassed by Zhu Tao and Qi Ziguang, and Yi Lun had come to her rescue, but ended up trapped. Shouldn't she be worried for Yi Lun? Something's wrong. Long Yu became cautious. He turned around and looked at the human tribulation realm martial cultivator, Lei Hang. Lei Hang was one of Zhu Tao's 4 human tribulation realm martial cultivators. He had mastered the power of the heavenly tablet of lightning and was extremely powerful. He was only one step away from breaking through the bottleneck and entering the heavenly realm. As Lei Hang flew out of the restaurant and confronted Long Yu in the air, many people became nervous. Among them, Bei Yuyao and Dou Zicheng were the most worried. Gu Jun and Gu Yin were naturally on Long Yu's side as well. There were also many onlookers who had a good impression of Yi Lun. They were currently pointing at the restaurant, expressing their dissatisfaction with Zhu Tao and the others. However, Zhu Tao was too powerful. Most of the residents in Yellow Sand City had not even reached the heavenly realm, so they naturally had no right to speak. They could only whisper to each other. I, Lei Hang, will avenge brother Chu Chinka. Lei Hang looked at Long Yu as a layer of dazzling lightning flashed on his body. To be honest, I've already forgotten who Chu Chinka is. Long Yu said calmly. Also, I won't remember your name. Brat, you're very arrogant, but I don't know why you're so arrogant. Just because you're a human glory realm cultivator? Lei Hang laughed. His eyes were filled with disdain. Take this, brat. As soon as he finished speaking, Lei Hang seemed to be surrounded by a layer of lightning. He turned into a lightning tornado and appeared in front of Long Yu in an instant. Lei Hang was extremely fast. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. Most of the onlookers could not react in time. None of you have left Sand City to participate in the battle against the exotic beasts, have you? Under such circumstances, Long Yu's voice was suddenly heard. Just as everyone was feeling surprised and puzzled, Lei Hang's miserable cry rang out, followed by the sound of strong lightning body crashing into the street not far away. You have no idea what kind of dangerous situation the City Lord, the Grand Elder, and the other heavenly tribulation experts are facing, but you're still rebelling in your own homes. You really make me laugh my head off. Long Yu's voice grew colder and colder, following which his body descended and heavily stomped on Lei Hang's body, which was enveloped by lightning. The lightning around Lei Hang's body was instantly extinguished. Lei Hang coughed and spat out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 441. When Long Yu was at the human initial stage, he was able to participate in the Sand City competition and fight against the 2 brothers, Gu Jun and Gu Yin, who were the strongest in the human initial stage. Not only had he entered the human initial stage, but he had also grown a lot in the process of fighting against the beasts. Therefore, he only needed one move to defeat Lei Hang, who was in the human tribulation realm. Under normal circumstances, the difference in strength between a human initial stage and a human tribulation realm cultivator was several times greater. It was impossible for a cultivator to defeat an opponent of a higher level. However, Long Yu had comprehended the 9 Serenities Law. He had directly used the 9 Serenities Law to completely defeat Lei Hang, and the 9 Serenities Qi had corroded his body. Amazing! The surrounding crowd sucked in a breath of cold air. Just like in the Sand City Grand Competition, Long Yu had once again defeated Lei Hang, who was 1 level higher than him in the martial Dao realm. Furthermore, he had defeated him in a single move. What's going on? Second senior brother Zhu Tao, who was standing on the balcony of the restaurant and looking at the situation outside, had a gloating expression on his face immediately. Zhu Tao knew Lei Hang's strength very well. In the Sand City competition not long ago, Lei Hang had made it to the top 8 in the Human Tribulation Realm group. How is it possible that he couldn't even defeat a guy in the human initial stage with one move? Could it be that Long Yu was really capable? Qi Ziguang, who was standing next to him, widened his eyes. He couldn't believe that Long Yu could defeat Lei Hang with one move. Qi Ziguang was still in the human initial stage. He hadn't entered the human tribulation realm yet. In the past, he had lost to Long Yu, who was in the human initial stage. Now that Long Yu had entered the human initial stage, Qi Ziguang was even less of a match for Long Yu. Qi Ziguang didn't even have the courage to fight against Long Yu. He was surrounded by Zhu Tao and Qi Ziguang's men in the restaurant. He was seriously injured and couldn't see the battle. Gu Jun, who was protecting him, said happily, "Young Master Yi, Brother Long defeated Lei Hang. I knew he wouldn't be afraid of someone in the human tribulation stage. However, Zhu Tao is at the heavenly origin stage. Not only is he 2 stages higher than him, the gap between the heavenly stage and the human stage is also like heaven and earth." However, Yi Luan was not optimistic. In fact, Yi Luan was not surprised that Long Yu had defeated Lei Hang. He was worried that Zhu Tao or his heavenly origin stage follower would personally make a move. The heavenly beginning stage was much more powerful than the human glory stage. Bei Yuyao and Dou Ziqing also stood guard by Yi Luan's side. The two of them heaved a sigh of relief as they observed the battle outside. However, when they heard Yi Luan's words, they tensed up again. Indeed, Long Yu had defeated Lei Hang, who was in the human tribulation realm. Although it was surprising, it didn't mean that they were out of danger. If the heavenly origin stage, Zhu Tao, or his lackey made a move, would Long Yu be able to withstand them? Liang Hua, there's no time to lose. Let's do it. Zhu Tao's face darkened as he spoke to his heavenly origin stage follower, Liang Hua. Yes, young master. A skinny young man stepped forward with a frivolous smile on his face. The skinny young man was called Liang Hua, the only heavenly origin stage follower under Zhu Tao. The hearts of everyone in the surroundings instantly tensed up when they saw him step forward. Be careful, Long Yu. Bei Yuyao couldn't help but shout out. She and Dou Ziqing had followed Yi Luan to Yellows and Sky City. They thought they had temporarily avoided danger, but they didn't expect to face Zhu Tao's threat right after avoiding the powerful beasts. Fortunately, Long Yu had returned in time to save Yi Luan's life. However, even Long Yu wouldn't be a match for the heavenly origin stage Liang Hua, right? Bei Yuyao thought to herself. If Long Yu couldn't beat Liang Hua, she would definitely help him even if it meant risking her life. Long Yu raised his head and immediately saw the skinny young man, Liang Hua, as well as the worried look in his mother's eyes. Why are you worried about me? Long Yu smiled and waved his hand. Mother, have you forgotten that I won't lose my life no matter what? Bei Yuyao and Dou Ziqing's hearts skipped a beat when they heard this. They exchanged glances and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. That's right. Long Yu had control over the Dragon Bone Tower. Even if he encountered an extremely dangerous situation, he could just summon the tower and hide inside it. Although the space on each floor of the Yellows and Sky City wasn't big enough to store the Dragon Bone Tower, it shouldn't be difficult for it to pierce through the Yellows and Sky City given the quality of the tower. So this kid is just testing his strength. Bei Yuyao, Dou Ziqing, and the others who knew about this all understood in their hearts. As for those who didn't know about the Dragon Bone Tower, such as Zhu Tao and Qi Ziguang, they hadn't left the Yellows and Sky City to fight against the exotic beasts. It was only natural that they wouldn't know about Long Yu's life-saving means. Won't lose your life. The lean youth, Liang Hua, stood out with a cynical smile on his face. He played with a silver dagger in his hand and said lightly, You're quite confident. However, in front of me, Liang Hua, a mere mortal Hua realm cultivator, dares to boast like this. It's really laughable. As he spoke, the skinny young man, Liang Hua, suddenly moved and completely disappeared from where he was. Not even a shadow was left behind. This guy's speed was much faster than Long Yu had expected. You're so fast. and you're using a dagger. That means you're good at sneak attacks. Unfortunately, you're still too inexperienced when it comes to sneak attacks against me. Long Yu. Long Yu reacted immediately. The 9 Serenities law condensed into the heavenly mandate divine light and bloomed directly behind him. 9 Serenities law, heavenly mandate divine light, explosion of light. Long Yu yelled, and a burst of heavenly mandate divine light suddenly burst out. Liang Hua, who was about to sneak attack behind Long Yu, was immediately blocked by the explosion of light. He was even blasted back several feet, looking extremely embarrassed. As an expert in the heavenly beginning realm, the skinny young man, Liang Hua, would not be killed by Long Yu in one move. But now, he had taken Long Yu by surprise and couldn't even touch the corner of Long Yu's clothes. This undoubtedly made him feel ashamed. You have good instincts, but unfortunately, it's all in vain. The cynical smile on Liang Hua's face began to fade. At first, he thought it would be easy to deal with Long Yu, and he might be able to kill him with one move. But now he found that Long Yu was much more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. Even though he was an expert in the heavenly beginning realm, it seemed that if he wanted to take Long Yu's life, it was really not something that could be done with 1 or 2 moves. You can continue to try, Long Yu said indifferently as he turned around. His eyes carried a faint look of ridicule as he looked at Liang Hua. That move you just used, was it the signature skill of the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Institute, the Heavenly Mandate Divine Light? Liang Hua was not in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he said with confidence, "You actually know the Heavenly Mandate Divine Light, and it seems that you did not learn it in a short time. You have been learning it for a long time, haven't you?" So what? Long Yu smiled lightly. Anyway, he was going to leave the Heavenly Mandate continent. Even if he exposed all his strength, it didn't matter to him. The key was to find out what his real strength could reach. "You are a spy." Liang Hua narrowed his eyes. "Last time, Yiluan brought you back. This time, Yiluan brought your mother and the guy from the 9 Heaven Star Palace back. He deliberately brought a spy into our yellow, sand heaven city." As soon as this was said, many onlookers suddenly began to talk. Most people in Yellow Sand Heaven City were very united. Now, when they heard that Long Yu turned out to be a spy and that young Master Yiluan had also brought a spy back, they couldn't help but be a little shocked. "Are you building momentum for Zhu Tao to succeed as the 4th City Lord, so as to suppress Yiluan?" Long Yu didn't care and asked directly, "Do you think that even without Yiluan, a guy like Zhu Tao is qualified to be the 4th City Lord?" Liang Hua heard this and did not refute, but changed the topic. "Since you are a spy, I have no pressure to deal with you, Tyrannosaurus of Sand." Liang Hua shouted and condensed all the qi in his body into a Tyrannosaurus of Sand. Liang Hua had already comprehended this move to the peak level. This was much stronger than the move that Long Yu learned. But Long Yu naturally wouldn't use the Tyrannosaurus of Sand to clash head-on with this guy. Now that Long Yu had fused with a wisp of 9 Underworld's dragons' primordial consciousness, his strength increased greatly. The Tyrannosaurus of Sand was just a dispensable means to him. Liang Hua condensed the Tyrannosaurus of Sand and charged towards Long Yu with a loud roar. His body flashed and disappeared from midair once again, using the Tyrannosaurus of Sand as a cover, waiting for an opportunity to launch a sneak attack. Long Yu narrowed his eyes. With a thought, he directly displayed the 10% of the hidden divine rune's power that he had comprehended. In an instant, just like Liang Hua, he completely disappeared from the air. Although he didn't know what movement technique Liang Hua cultivated, no matter what kind of movement technique it was, it couldn't possibly compare to the concealment effect of the hidden divine rune. Long Yu's disappearance was even more thorough than Liang Hua's disappearance. Even if it was only 10% of the hidden divine rune, when displayed, it wasn't something that martial cultivators at Liang Hua's level could discover. Of course, this wasn't just related to one's realm, but also to one's perceptual acuity. Clearly, although this lean youth, Liang Hua, was agile and extremely fast, his perceptual acuity wasn't very good. When Long Yu disappeared in midair, Liang Hua immediately couldn't figure out where Long Yu was. A tyrannosaurus of sand that Liang Hua condensed lost its target and stopped moving in midair in a daze. However, in the next moment, a black shadow suddenly appeared on top of that tyrannosaurus of sand's head. Void Underworld Dragonblade. Let's see how powerful you are first. Wielding the Void Underworld Dragonblade, Long Yu silently arrived above the Tyrannosaurus of Sand's head using the hidden divine rune. Then he stabbed the Void Underworld Dragonblade towards the Tyrannosaurus of Sand's head. When it came to assassination techniques, who was better than Long Yu? No one was prepared for Long Yu's move. All they saw was a flash of black light, and the Tyrannosaurus of Sand's entire body was corroded by the netherworld aura. In the next moment, its entire body exploded and turned into dust. The Tyrannosaurus of Sand was the strongest martial technique that Yellow Sand Sky City's martial cultivators had comprehended. Chapter 442. Even Long Yu himself was a little surprised by the power of the Nether Dragonblade. One must know that the Tyrannosaurus of Sand in front of him was condensed by a heavenly origin stage expert, and Liang Hua had already cultivated the Tyrannosaurus of Sand to the peak realm. The Nether Dragonblade is undoubtedly an ancient weapon more powerful than a desolate level weapon. The materials used, as well as the consciousness of the dragon of 9 underworlds integrated into it, don't belong to this world at all. Long Yu thought to himself, if he could learn some powerful martial skills using short blades, how powerful would the Nether Dragonblade be when it was used? Moreover, the Nether Dragonblade seemed to have a strong compatibility with the laws of 9 underworlds and the divine character Yu. In other words, the laws of 9 underworlds and the divine character Yu released through the Nether Dragonblade would be enhanced to a certain extent. What? When the Tyrannosaurus of Sand was defeated by Long Yu in one move and turned into powder, the lean young man Liang Hua, who had disappeared in the air at an extremely fast speed, could not help but cry out in surprise. He had never imagined that the Tyrannosaurus of Sand he had condensed would be defeated by the kid in front of him in one move. That was not what made Liang Hua collapse. What he could not accept the most was that the assassination skills he relied on to survive seemed to be useless in front of Long Yu. Not only did they not work, but Long Yu even had assassination skills that were more practical than his. He did not even notice where Long Yu had gone, and in the next moment, the Tyrannosaurus of Sand he had condensed had already been defeated by Long Yu. This is the divine character Hidden, which is said to have been obtained by the previous lord of the Thundercloud Fortress. In the restaurant, the fat second senior brother, Zhu Tao, frowned slightly. Being able to learn the divine character Hidden means that you must be related to the people of the Thundercloud Fortress. It seems that you are indeed a spy who came to our Yellow Sand Heaven City. So this is the power of the divine character. The lean youth, Liang Hua, nodded. His face revealed a bloodthirsty and mocking expression. But if you only know how to dodge, you don't have the qualifications to be arrogant in front of me, Liang Hua. As soon as he finished speaking, Liang Hua raised his hand, and the dagger in his hand swayed. With a flash of silver light, the dagger split into 3 afterimages, heading straight for Long Yu, Bei Yu Yao, and Yi Luan. It was impossible to tell if any of the 3 afterimages were real or fake. Long Yu's expression changed slightly when he saw this. Yellow Sand Afterimage. Liang Hua has mastered this move and can actually split into 3 afterimages. Including his own body, there are 4. Each afterimage is enough to pass off as the real one. No one can tell which one is real and which one is fake. Qi Ziguang and Zhu Tao watched from the side, both feeling pleased with themselves. They knew that today's battle would end here. Although Long Yu had shocked them, this Yellow Sand Afterimage was Liang Hua's most powerful martial skill. He had already stepped into the realm of transcendence. In the past, when Liang Hua used this martial skill, no one in the same realm of martial arts could block it, and no one could hurt his body. This showed how powerful it was. The 3 silhouettes of Liang Hua swept towards Long Yu, Bei Yu Yao, and Yi Luan respectively. Of course, with the addition of Liang Hua, who was standing motionlessly in midair, no one could tell which was the real body. Long Yu wanted to find out which one was the real one through the killing intent, but he found that these 4 identical Liang Hua afterimages all exuded an extremely strong killing intent. Shadow of the Dragon Sparrow. When Long Yu saw the afterimages fly out, he immediately reacted. The shadow of a black dragon sparrow appeared behind him and immediately merged with Long Yu's body. Immediately after, Long Yu turned into a black streak of light and flew toward the afterimage of Liang Hua that was charging toward Bei Yuyao at the fastest speed. Nether Void Dragon Blade, kill. Long Yu held the Nether Void Dragon Blade in his hand, and a wave of netherworld chi shot out, piercing through Liang Hua's afterimage as he rapidly moved forward. The afterimage shattered with a loud bang. It was obviously not the real one. However, with this delay, the other Liang Hua's afterimage was already about to reach Yilun. Yilun was currently in a seriously injured state, and although Gu Jun and Gu Yan weren't injured, it was impossible for them to withstand the attack of a Heavenly Origin expert's afterimage. Spirit Binding Lock, go. At this critical moment, Long Yu threw out a small fragment of the Spirit Binding Lock from afar, trapping Liang Hua's afterimage in an instant, making it impossible for him to advance any further. One had to know that the Spirit Binding Lock was a part of a heaven-level soldier that even Wang Chongfeng, a heavenly tribulation expert, had been trapped in the bone concealing abyss for more than 10 years. To the martial practitioners of the heavenly mandate continent, a heaven-level soldier was something that only existed in legends. In the end, Liang Hua's afterimage and his real body, seeing that Long Yu was moving so quickly, immediately split into 2 directions and launched a pincer attack toward Long Yu's current position. Come! Nether Dragon 9 explosions. The first explosion gained the upper hand. Just as Long Yu was facing the pincer attack of the afterimages, he calmly raised his hand and immediately condensed the netherworld chi, exploding it with a loud bang. The Nether Dragon 9 explosions was a great desolation-level martial technique. Originally, Long Yu would have considerable repercussions when using it. But now, after he had fused with the primordial consciousness that originally belonged to the dragon of the netherworld, there would no longer be any repercussions when using this technique. When a dragon roar resounded through the sky, one of Liang Hua's afterimages was directly smashed into pieces by the Nether Dragon 9 explosions that exploded out of nowhere. The 3 afterimages of the lean young man, Liang Hua, were all as powerful as his real body and extremely difficult to deal with. No one had expected that Long Yu would actually kill one of them with a short blade in an instant. Then, the mysterious soldier trapped one of them, and in the end, used a terrifying martial technique and directly smashed one of them into pieces. The lean young man, Liang Hua's real body, couldn't help but take a few steps back when he saw this situation. He couldn't help but reveal an indescribable expression on his face. Nether Dragon 9 explosions, the second explosion, illusory dragon roar. But Long Yu's attack still wasn't over. He roared, and 7 consecutive dragon roars reverberated throughout the battlefield. After the deafening explosions, the crowd discovered that the yellow sand afterimage that had attacked Yiluan had been trapped by Long Yu's chain warrior, and had dissipated just like that. Put away. With a command in his heart, Long Yu withdrew the spirit-restricting lock. This thing couldn't be obtained through proper means. If Yu Qingsha were to notice something, that would be bad for her. The 3 yellow sand afterimages were all destroyed by Long Yu, but Long Yu didn't relax at all. Nether Dragon 9 explosions, the 3rd explosion, soul shock explosion. Long Yu raised his head and glanced at the lean young man, Liang Hua, who was floating in front of him. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and then with a thought, the netherworld aura suddenly exploded and instantly enveloped Liang Hua's entire body. It completely surrounded his escape route, and he couldn't run even if he wanted to. The lean young man, Liang Hua, only heard a dragon roar, and then his entire soul was completely shocked, and he instantly froze on the spot. Heavenly Mandate, Divine Light. the law of the netherworld, light explosion. Long Yu then raised his hand and condensed a beam of heavenly mandate divine light, which shot out and shot through Liang Hua's chest. This series of means dazzled the surrounding people. When they came to their senses, Liang Hua's afterimages and his original body had all been destroyed by Long Yu. How is this possible? The luxuriously dressed young man, Qi Ziguang's expression changed greatly. The situation in front of him was very different from what he had expected. Little Seven, don't worry. The fat second brother, Zhu Tao, immediately narrowed his eyes and said, "Don't forget, Liang Hua's yellow sand afterimages have been comprehended to the transcendent realm." "Yes, how could I forget?" Hearing this, Qi Ziguang suddenly patted his head, and the worry on his face turned to joy. The yellow sand afterimages of the transcendent realm are not so easy to break. As if to confirm what the two said, all the afterimages of Liang Hua that had been destroyed by Long Yu, including his original body, condensed into strands of yellow sand silk threads, entangling Long Yu. Long Yu frowned slightly. He was keenly aware that he had not killed the real Liang Hua. Instead, because he had defeated those afterimages, he had caused some trouble. These yellow sand afterimages, after being defeated, could actually turn into yellow sand silk threads, entangling the opponent. All four of them are afterimages. I was negligent. A light flashed in Long Yu's eyes, but he did not care too much. Following a flash of inspiration in his mind, he directly punched into the void. 9 nether dragon explosions. 4th explosion, dragon roar dark sky snow. With this punch, the law of the 9 nether suddenly spread rapidly around, turning into black snowflakes, decorating the whole world into a dark world. At the same time, in this space, there was a constant dragon roar, making it impossible for the opponent in this space to hide, and his strength was suppressed by at least 50%. A thin figure of a young man gradually appeared in front of Long Yu. Moreover, his actions and speed were much slower than before, completely different from how he was at the beginning. As the dragon roars reached the ears of the thin young man, Liang Hua, his strength was being suppressed more and more. Liang Hua couldn't take it anymore. The feeling of the power in his body being suppressed by an external force made him very unhappy. He immediately roared and swung the silver dagger in his hand. Immediately, several blades of silver light shot towards Long Yu. Reincarnation barrier. With a thought, Long Yu directly condensed the reincarnation barrier and immediately reflected the silver blades. At the same time, the drunken underworld and the awakening palm of Samsara were launched. The invisible spirit of the underworld appeared along with the path of the underworld. Under the several layers of suppression, Liang Hua immediately lost the ability to resist. The silver blade light that bounced back left several wounds of varying depths on Liang Huachuan's body, and blood flowed out bit by bit. The dragon roars continued, and Liang Hua's strength was being suppressed even more. Chapter 443. Following Liang Hua's mad and desperate roar, Zhu Tao, who was watching from the side, changed his expression. Although he could feel that Long Yu's series of moves were very powerful, he wasn't enveloped by it, so he couldn't feel it too deeply. He thought that Liang Hua would definitely be able to deal with Long Yu, who was only in the human Hua realm. He didn't think that Liang Hua would actually roar and ask for help. What a piece of trash! Zhu Tao snorted coldly. His fat body suddenly jumped out of the restaurant. Although he was fat, his speed in the air wasn't slow at all. In just an instant, he was already within 100 feet of Long Yu, entering the range of the 4th explosion of the Nether Dragon's 9 explosions. Dragon roar dark sky snow. Immediately, waves of dragon roars entered Zhu Tao's ears, shocking him for a while. What kind of martial skill is this? How can it be so powerful? Zhu Tao's heart jumped. No wonder Liang Hua asked for help. This Long Yu actually comprehended such a terrifying martial skill. No wonder, no wonder. At the same time that he was shocked, Zhu Tao also began to think. If he could learn such a powerful martial skill, wouldn't it be even more powerful than the tyrannical sand dragon in Yellow Sand Shadow? If that was the case, he might really be able to try and fight for the position of the fourth Sand City Lord. Just as Zhu Tao was thinking about this, Long Yu punched Liang Hua's face, condensing the endless power of the laws of the underworld. The laws of the underworld were the strongest laws that surpassed the laws of the Heaven Crystal Realm. Even though Long Yu's martial arts realm was 2 levels lower than Liang Hua's, when Liang Hua was being suppressed in all kinds of ways, Long Yu's punch directly took half of Liang Hua's life. The punch sent Liang Hua flying, and he fell heavily on the street below. Liang Hua, who fell on the ground, spat out blood. His entire body was greenish-black. The aura of the underworld had already corroded his entire body. If he wasn't treated in time, he probably wouldn't live. Even if someone wanted to save him now, they would at least need to take out an Earth-level healing pill. A healing pill below the Earth level wouldn't be of any use at all. You finally made a move. Long Yu turned his head and looked at Zhu Tao mockingly, playing with the silver dagger he snatched from Liang Hua's hand. This was a top-grade dark-level weapon. Even though Long Yu did not think much of it, in the Heavenly Mandate continent, it was still considered a decent quality weapon. At the very least, if Long Yu brought it to the Great Tang Empire, it would be enough to become a national treasure of the Great Tang Empire. You are so vicious. To injure Liang Hua, your crime cannot be redeemed. The fat second senior brother Zhu Tao's power was gradually suppressed by the dragon roars. However, his face was gloomy, and as he spoke, he released the yellow sky sand flying force that he had comprehended. Yellow sky flying sand was a heaven crystal law. Zhu Tao had already comprehended the power of the world. Although he was not as good as Yi Luan, compared to the skinny young man, Liang Hua, he was much stronger. The yellow sky sand flying force suddenly burst out, and it immediately counteracted a part of the suppression from Long Yu's dark sky snow. After all, there were 2 levels of difference between them. Even if Long Yu performed a great desolate level martial skill, like the Dark Dragon 9 explosion, he still couldn't completely suppress Zhu Tao. You killed your fellow disciples. You're even more vicious than me. You deserve to die. Long Yu retorted sarcastically, and he didn't seem to be at a disadvantage in terms of momentum. This fat second senior brother Zhu Tao was also one of the 9 disciples of Sha Yuan Tian, but he killed his fellow disciples, framed Yi Luan, and wanted to kill Yi Luan. Wasn't this more vicious than Long Yu? Long Yu was only trying to protect his brothers and friends, and he was forced to attack. Unlike this fat second senior brother Zhu Tao, who attacked for the position of the 4th City Lord of Yellow Sand Heaven City. Shut up, you're just a spy who sneaked into our Yellow Sand Heaven City. What qualifications do you have to criticize us? Zhu Tao snorted coldly. I'm guessing that even junior brother Yi Luan has been bewitched by your group and has become your puppet. If Yi Luan really becomes the 4th City Lord, won't the entire Yellow Sand Heaven City be destroyed in your hands? If you want to fight, then let's fight. Cut the crap. Long Yu activated the profound qi in his body, and his eyes flashed. Suddenly, a burst of underworld qi burst out and spread out, forming a Yellow Spring realm. The drunken Yellow Spring realm, which he had comprehended to the transformation realm, could create a Yellow Spring realm and make Long Yu lie drunk in the Yellow Spring. As for the other opponents in this area, their cultivation would be greatly suppressed. Even Zhu Tao, who was at the heavenly origin stage, was no exception. Double suppression? Zhu Tao's expression changed slightly. He could feel that in this space, he was facing Long Yu's double suppression. First, a dragon's roar could be heard, making Zhu Tao uneasy. Then, the Yellow Spring realm spread out, causing his strength to drop by about 10%. If it was a martial cultivator of the same level, in the Yellow Spring realm, their strength would be suppressed by at least half. But Zhu Tao was a heavenly origin realm expert, and his basic strength was extremely tyrannical, even more than 10 times stronger than Long Yu, so his strength was only suppressed by 10%. Coupled with the Dragon Roar Dark Snow realm's continuous suppression, Zhu Tao's overall combat strength was only reduced by less than 30%. With his basic strength, he still had an absolute advantage over Long Yu. Yellow Sand Heavenstorm, momentum, break for me. A sinister smile appeared on Zhu Tao's face, and the Yellow Sand Heavenstorm's power of heaven and earth rumbled out. The power of the Yellow Sand clashed with Long Yu's Dragon Roar Dark Snow Realm and Yellow Spring Realm. Suddenly, a strong airflow erupted and spread out. Let me show you the Tyrannosaurus of Sand in the complete realm. Go, Sand Dragon Breath. Zhu Tao shouted, and suddenly a Tyrannosaurus of Sand formed. With a swing of its head, it spewed a large torrent of yellow sand in the direction of Long Yu. This torrent of yellow sand carried the power of the Yellow Sand Heavenstorm. If it hit Long Yu head-on, even if his body had been tempered by sky thunder, he would definitely be in trouble. After all, Zhu Tao's martial arts realm was more than 2 levels higher than his. Not to mention that martial cultivators of the human realm and heavenly realm could borrow the power of the laws of heaven and earth, so there was a huge difference between them. Any human tribulation stage cultivator who stepped into the heavenly origin stage would be able to exert 10 times the power of the laws of heaven and earth, or even more. This was because the heavenly origin stage was a stage where one was in complete harmony with heaven and earth, so one could naturally borrow more power of heaven and earth. Heavenly mandate, divine light. For color laws, light curtain. Seeing this, Long Yu did not panic. Instead, he was calm. He raised his hand and condensed a beam of heavenly mandate, divine light. This beam of heavenly mandate, divine light contained 4 colors, and in an instant, it spread into a defensive light curtain. The pitch-black law of the 9 serenities, the eerie white law of the Tyene, the fiery red law of the scorching sun, and the deep purple law of the thunderbolt. The 4 color laws were perfectly integrated by Long Yu, and together they formed the defensive light curtain of the heavenly mandate, divine light. Zhu Tao's torrent of yellow sand suddenly rolled on the 4 color light curtain, and suddenly a shocking roar broke out. Then, as expected, it was blocked by the 4 color light curtain. The yellow sand scattered in all directions, but in the end, it could not break through the defensive light curtain of the heavenly mandate, divine light that Long Yu had condensed. He has been comprehending the heavenly mandate, divine light for a year, and it has been very effective. At this moment, in the restaurant, Dou Zicheng was already standing next to Bei Yuyao, watching the show in a very relaxed manner. When they thought that Long Yu could control the Dragonbone Ancient Tower, it was impossible for him to die here, and they felt much more relaxed, especially when they saw that Long Yu had really defeated the lean young man, Liang Hua, in the heavenly beginning realm. They felt even more relaxed. Next, all they had to do was to watch the show. Not bad, especially to integrate the power of the 4 laws of heaven and earth. It is very difficult, Bei Yuyao said with a smile. You should know that there's a big difference between the power of each law of heaven and earth. If it is not handled well, the power of the laws will repel each other. Not to mention using it against the enemy, it is very easy to be seriously injured just by practicing it. This kid's talent is probably even better than his father's. Dou Zicheng could not help but sigh, but when he saw the look in Bei Yuyao's eyes dim, he immediately cursed himself for saying the wrong thing. Did this not remind Bei Yuyao of Long Zitian? He was really asking for trouble. In the field, Long Yu blocked Zhu Tao's yellow sand torrent, but more yellow sand torrents sprayed out from the mouth of the Tyrannosaurus of Sand, constantly bombarding the light curtain of the heavenly mandate, divine light, condensed by the 4 color laws of Long Yu. Divine text with a hidden character. The corner of Long Yu's mouth curled up, and he immediately released the power of the divine text with the hidden character. His figure suddenly disappeared from the field. At the same time, the double suppression of the underworld realm and the dragon roar dark sky, snow suddenly disappeared without a trace, and the 4 color law light curtain was directly shattered because it was no longer supported by Long Yu's power. Where did he go? The fat second senior brother, Zhu Tao, hovered in the air, squinted and carefully observed the surrounding sky, but no matter how hard he tried, he could not find Long Yu's figure. The mighty and majestic Tyrannosaurus of sand was hovering above Zhu Tao's head, hovering in the air. It was not angry, but it was intimidating. The other onlookers, the brothers Gu Yin and Gu Jun, Biao, Dozi Cheng, and the others all swept their eyes across the sky outside the restaurant, but they could not find any trace of Long Yu. Did this kid run away? Zhu Tao's face did not look so good. If he let Long Yu run away, how could he explain Lei Hang's death? And how could he face the seriously injured Liang Hua? However, at the next moment, Long Yu's voice came from the restaurant. "What are you doing?" Brother Yiluan did not hesitate to fall out with the senior brothers for you. "And this is how you treat Brother Yiluan?" Long Yu kicked open a door on the third floor of the restaurant and found the owner of the restaurant, who was also the woman that Yiluan admired. At this moment, the beautiful woman was in the room, talking to a man in a black cloak. As for the black-cloaked man, he placed something that looked like a healing pill in her hand and asked her to give it to Yiluan. No one expected Long Yu to be able to notice the situation in the restaurant while he was fighting with Zhu Tao. Chapter 444. The beautiful woman who opened the restaurant had just reached out to take the elixir from the black-robed man's hand when the door was kicked open by Long Yu. The beautiful woman was shocked. "No, listen to me. This is a healing elixir. I want to save young Master Yi, so..." Yiluan, who was seriously injured, could not help but be surprised when he saw this sudden scene. "Xiao Yu, who is this person? Why is he wearing a black robe in our yellow sand heaven city and not daring to show his face?" Yiluan looked at the mysterious man in a black robe with a cold look in his eyes. He's a pill master, a guest of the restaurant that I invited." Xiao Yu, the beautiful woman that Yiluan was in love with, quickly said in a panic. "If that's the case, why are you so nervous?" The corner of Long Yu's lips curled slightly. "Why don't you give me the elixir? I happen to be a pill master too. If it's really a healing elixir, let Brother Yi take it." The beautiful woman, Xiao Yu, could not make up her mind when she heard Long Yu's words. She subconsciously turned to look at the mysterious man. The mysterious man in a black robe finally stood up at this moment. "You're very bold to dare to get involved in this matter. However, with your strength, you can't stop everything from happening." The mysterious man's voice was a little cold and extremely unfamiliar. Yiluan and the others had never heard this person's voice before. It seemed that he had come from outside Yellow Sand Heaven City. Could it be, as Xiao Yu said, that he was a guest of the restaurant? Of course, no matter what, the mysterious man's words were already filled with strong hostility. This hostility was directed at Long Yu and Yiluan. The elixir that the man gave Xiao Yu was definitely not a healing elixir. Instead, it was likely to be poison. If Yiluan took it, nothing good would happen. Long Yu suspected this, so he took the opportunity to come over and expose the scene. "Who are you? Why did you come to my Yellow Sand Heaven City?" Yiluan struggled to speak and asked sternly. "I'm just a small alchemist." The mysterious man's lips curled up as he removed the hood of his black cloak. A familiar face appeared before everyone's eyes. Che Jinzi. Upon seeing this, Long Yu frowned slightly. The person in front of him really looked like the golden-robed Thundercloud Fortress alchemist, Che Jinzi. However, Che Jinzi was already old and was killed by Long Yu in the Tang Empire. "You see my father?" When a mysterious man heard Long Yu's murmur, he immediately became interested. "Could it be that he died in your hands? So you are Che Jinzi's son, a member of the Thundercloud Fortress." Long Yu smiled faintly. He finally figured out this guy's identity. "That's right. I am Che Yunlong, the chief alchemist of Thundercloud Fortress." The middle-aged man in a black robe proudly puffed out his chest. An alchemist was an existence that ordinary martial cultivators couldn't look up to. Even martial cultivators with higher martial Dao realms had to treat them with respect. In the Thundercloud Fortress, Che Yunlong was even treated with respect by the fort master, Raven Du Sun. "What is someone from the Thundercloud Fortress doing in our Yellow Sand Heaven City?" Yiluan's face suddenly sank. He looked at the woman in the restaurant and asked, Xiao Yu, how do you know him? The beautiful woman, Xiao Yu, was a little flustered and didn't know how to explain. You don't have to ask her. Under the black robe, the corners of Che Yunlong's mouth curled up slightly. He smiled faintly and said, She has always been my woman. To be honest, I'm a little reluctant to let her come out to seduce you. Ha! What? Yi Luan was stunned on the spot, as if he was struck by lightning. Xiao Yu, whom he had admired for a long time, was from the Thundercloud Fortress? Moreover, she was the woman of the chief alchemist of Thundercloud Fortress, Che Yunlong. Letting your own woman come out to seduce other men, you're really something. Long Yu noticed Yi Luan's expression and knew that this guy must have been hit hard. However, now is not the time for Long Yu to comfort him. In order to get what you want, of course, you have to make a certain sacrifice. As long as what you get is worthy of the sacrifice, there's no problem. The black-robed man, Che Yunlong, was good-looking, but the words he said made people's hair stand on end. Okay, I have to go now. I don't want to get involved in the affairs of your yellow sand heaven city. You're just at the human tribulation realm. Do you think you can leave? Long Yu sneered. Then you'll have to ask your good brother. Che Yunlong glanced at Yi Luan and said with a playful smile, Brother Yi Luan, I'm going to leave with my woman now. If you don't want Xiao Yu to die in my hands, then come and chase me. Huh. After saying this, Che Yunlong directly held the beautiful woman and Xiao Yu in one hand and flew into the air, wanting to leave this place. Yi Luan's heart skipped a beat when he heard this. Although he now knew the truth, that the woman he loved, Xiao Yu, had been sent by someone else to seduce him, he still couldn't bear to watch Xiao Yu die. He didn't let Gu Jun stop Che Yunlong. He just watched as he flew to the window of the restaurant and was about to leave. Although I don't know the relationship between you and the mastermind behind this, or what kind of agreement you've reached, since you're already here, don't be in a hurry to leave. Long Yu's voice could be heard all of a sudden. Following this, his black figure appeared in front of Che Yunlong, with a grin on his face. Zhu Tao, since you don't dare to kill Yi Luan, you decided to cooperate with the people of the Thundercloud Fortress. What a great plan. Now, Long Yu had a rough idea of the truth. Zhu Tao had wanted to deal with Yi Luan, but in order to prevent others from gossiping about him, he had cooperated with Che Yunlong and asked Che Yunlong to send Xiao Yu to get close to Yi Luan. Now that the situation had reached a critical juncture, it was time for Xiao Yu to make a move and feed the poison to Yi Luan. Everything would be settled. When Xiao Yu left with Che Yunlong and returned to Thundercloud Fortress, what could Yellow Sand Sky City do to them? Meanwhile, Zhu Tao would be cleared of the suspicion of murdering his junior brother. Now, due to the appearance of Long Yu, their plan had failed. However, it seemed like Che Yunlong didn't want to meddle in other people's business, so he used Xiao Yu as a hostage in an attempt to leave. Nonsense, I don't even know this guy. The fat second senior brother Zhu Tao spat when he saw Che Yunlong. No matter how much I want Yilin dead, I won't cooperate with an outsider. Is that so? Then why aren't you arresting him? Long Yu smirked coldly. You're my opponent now. Zhu Tao looked at Long Yu and said coldly, Since Che Yunlong is the chief alchemist of Thundercloud Fortress, it's not convenient to offend him. As for you, Long Yu, you're a spy from the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Institute. In my opinion, you're far more dangerous to Yellow Sand City than Che Yunlong. You talk too much. As soon as Long Yu finished speaking, his figure disappeared quietly. The next moment, he appeared beside the black-robed figure of Che Yunlong, who was about to leave. How dare you? I'll kill her. Che Yunlong was a little scared when he saw this. No matter what, he was only in the human tribulation realm. Although his alchemy skills were very good, his own strength was not that great. He saw with his own eyes that Long Yu, who was only in the human glory realm, defeated Lei Hang, who was in the human tribulation realm, with one move. He didn't have the courage to fight against Long Yu. Do you think you can kill her? The corners of Long Yu's mouth curled up. The fourth explosion of the Nether Dragon 9 explosions, Dragon Roar Dark Heavenly Snow, instantly erupted. Dragon roars entered Che Yunlong's ears, shocking him on the spot. Following which, Long Yu had already grabbed the beautiful girl, Xiao Yu, with one hand and flung her backwards, throwing her to Yi Luan's side. Gu Jun immediately took control of her. In Long Yu's opinion, this person must be handed over to Yi Luan. As for Che Yunlong, there was no need for Long Yu to hold back. Netherworld Realm, suppress. Following Long Yu's drunken yellow springs, which had already reached the pinnacle of perfection, a double suppressive force suddenly descended on Che Yunlong's head, instantly suppressing his strength by 30 to 40%. Even his flying speed was greatly reduced. Spirit Strengthening Pill. Seeing this, Che Yunlong knew that the situation was bad. He quickly shouted, took out a blue pill from his bosom, and directly swallowed it. Spirit Strengthening Pill, a low-grade, earth-grade pill. With Che Yunlong's alchemy skills, he could actually refine such a pill. No wonder he was the chief alchemist of Thundercloud Fortress. If it wasn't for this situation, Long Yu really wouldn't have been able to catch such a guy and have the chance to threaten his life. But now, Che Yunlong was a sheep in a tiger's mouth. Kill! Long Yu shouted, and the first explosion of the Dark Dragon 9 explosions was released. The Dark Dragon 9 explosions didn't need to be used in a specific order. At this moment, Long Yu could use the first 4 explosions of the Dark Dragon 9 explosions at will. A dragon's roar shook one's heart, and it was accompanied by a burst of netherworld chi that exploded behind Che Yunlong. Even though Che Yunlong had taken the Spirit Strengthening Pill and temporarily doubled his strength, the Thundercloud defense barrier that he cast in a hurry couldn't withstand the Dark Dragon 9 explosions at all. This was a great desolate-level martial arts technique, a terrifying martial arts technique that didn't exist in the entire Heavenly Mandate continent. Spitting out a mouthful of blood, Che Yunlong staggered forward and shouted hysterically, "Yuan Liang, why are you still not coming out? Do you want to watch me die?" As soon as this was said, Long Yu and Zhu Tao's expressions changed slightly. This Che Yunlong was actually colluding with Yuan Liang. Yuan Liang was Yi Luan and Zhu Tao's big brother, and his cultivation had already reached the Tianhua realm. Long Yu also remembered that Yuan Liang and He Qinxue helped him when they were fighting against exotic beasts. Now, this Yuan Liang actually colluded with Che Yunlong to kill Yi Luan. Looking at Zhu Tao's expression, this fatty doesn't seem to know that you're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.